Chapter 48:11. At this time, all kinds of strange phenomena began to appear in the sky. Void bubbles surged, tricolored true light appeared, the pitch-black outline of a door unfolded like a picture scroll, and light spread out like a flood of light. The great ape king was a little anxious. He clearly knew that the great sages ranked on the saint rankings must have been attracted by this skyrocketing phenomenon, and had rushed over one after another. If he didn't stop Xiaohua's actions, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to obtain the metalwood origin spirit again. If I don't fight now, when will I? Great Ape King made up his mind. His eyes, which were originally shining with golden light, were now bloodshot. The Great Ape King's gaze swept across Feng Wu and Huang Tong. He suddenly opened his mouth, and a flashing silver demon core rushed out. The moment this demon core appeared, the space within a few dozen miles immediately distorted and shrank toward this silver light. Feng Wu and Huang Tong's bodies involuntarily fell toward the demon core. Feng Wu and Huang Tong were shocked. They hurriedly spread their wings, condensed the light of the stars and moon into thunder to block, or used the space escape technique to dodge. Buzz! At this time, the silver demon pill suddenly trembled as if it was about to explode. A strong repulsive force rushed out, and the sucked space exploded in all directions. Oh no, we've been tricked. Feng Wu and Huang Tong immediately sensed the Great Ape King's plan when they saw the Great Ape King's powerful force pushing their demonic bodies. They cursed in their hearts. The Great Ape King's huge demonic body was as light as a feather. He followed the demonic core that was even faster than a meteor, and charged toward the metal, wood, and magnetic rainbow. Damn it! Huang Tong's body was unstable. She spread her wings and was about to give chase. But at this time Xiaohua's understated voice appeared in her mind. Since Great Ape King wants to die, let him come. Both of you should be on guard. The other great sages of the 10,000 demon realm. I'm afraid they will appear. Haha, congratulations. Hearing Xiaohua's voice, how could Feng Wu not know that Xiaohua had succeeded? She replied with a smile. What's there to congratulate? It takes time to refine the gold and wood original spirit. It also takes strength to resist the great sages of the 10,000 demon realm. Xiaohua said lightly. If we don't have a thunderous method, I'm afraid we can't deter them. Fellow Taoist Thunder, after a while, released the Rainbow Lion King. As a matter of fact, even without Xiaohua's reminder, the Rainbow Lion King was also very anxious when he saw the Great Ape King escaping from the battlefield. Unfortunately, he was facing Reverend Yun and Reverend Thunder Immortal. Reverend Yun's Heavenly Dragon speech technique had sealed off the surrounding space, while Reverend Thunder Immortal's Thunderclap Palm and Thunder Immortal's Thunder Element magic were extremely powerful. Therefore, the Rainbow Lion King was unable to escape for a short period of time. Swish! Not waiting for Xiaohua's voice to reach the bottom of the Thunderbolt Immortal's heart, he saw the Rainbow Lion King's huge body sway. The rainbow light completely converged. At the place where the Rainbow Lion King's monster body shrunk, a broad bean-shaped 9-colored cocoon of light appeared in front of the Thunderbolt Immortal. Oh, this. Reverend Thunder Immortal was puzzled. However, before his hand could land, the light cocoon exploded. Countless colorful beams shot into the void like vines, wrapping both Reverend Yun and Reverend Thunder Immortal within. What is this guy trying to do? The Thunderbolt Immortal waved his hand, tearing the void apart. However, at this moment, the light around the vines dimmed and the Rainbow Lion King's body disappeared. Although the Thunderbolt Immortal had received Xiaohua's order to release the Rainbow Lion King, the Rainbow Lion King had escaped by himself, which made the Thunderbolt Immortal lose face. When the Thunderbolt Immortal and Reverend Yun turned around, the Rainbow Lion King's figure had already appeared behind them. It had transformed into a rainbow, and was rushing toward the gold and wood original spirit that had yet to disappear. Damn it! Reverend Thunderbolt was enraged. He lifted his hand and a bolt of lightning tore through the void, about to stab into the Rainbow Lion King's back. But at this time, a surprised voice sounded out from the skies. Thunder Spirit Great Sage? Thunder? Ah. Dragon Race Great Sage. Eh? Why are you all here? His voice was filled with surprise, but there was also a hint of joy in his surprise. The Thunderbolt Immortal raised his head slightly, and saw that in the distant horizon, hundreds of miles away, the flowing lights were blooming like flowers. The flowing lights cut through the void, and the flowers covered the space. A colorful shadow fell from the extraordinary splendor, and when the flowers bloomed, the shadow solidified, and a graceful phoenix was revealed. Colorful Phoenix King? When the Thunderbolt Immortal saw the phoenix, he knew it was the colorful Phoenix King who had sent out the phoenix emissaries. As he asked in a low voice, he made an incantation gesture with his hand. Boom! The thunderbolt that was thrusting toward the Rainbow Lion King exploded immediately. Of course, the Rainbow Lion King was not injured, but half of the swaying shadow was destroyed. I'm the colorful Phoenix King of the sacred Phoenix race. Greetings, Thunder Spirit Great Sage. The colorful Phoenix King had worked hard before, so she would not do anything wrong now. She retracted her gaze from the strange phenomenon of gold and wood original spirit, and quickly greeted the Thunderbolt Immortal. The Thunderbolt Immortal was puzzled when he saw the colorful Phoenix King's beautiful wings flapping. He did not know what she was doing. Beside him, Reverend Yin flew over with a smile, raised his dragon claw and said, I'm the Reverend Yin. Greetings, colorful Phoenix King. Oh, I'm the Thunderbolt Immortal. Greetings, colorful Phoenix King. The Thunderbolt Immortal was enlightened. Naturally, he returned the favor with a salute. The colorful Phoenix King was overjoyed when she saw that the two great sages of other races were amiable, which was similar to what Phoenix Emissary Number 9 had said. She quickly smiled and said, Greetings, great sage of the dragon race. While they were greeting each other, a huge peacock flew out from the spot where the tricolored true light appeared. The great Eagle King flew out from the spot where the void bubble was surging. Behind the pitch-black door, the figure of the rapid Sakura Great Sage was swaying faintly. As for the spot where the light was spreading like waves, the shadow of the three-legged golden crow had been projected. Seeing that the great sages were about to arrive, the colorful Phoenix King hurriedly asked, Thunder Sage, Dragon Sage, what's going on? The Thunderbolt Immortal rolled his eyes and answered indifferently, We have something to tell you. Do we need to tell you? The colorful Phoenix King smiled. Just as she was about to answer, she saw the space in the distance collapsing and the rainbow piercing through the heaven and earth. All of a sudden, a black-white light that was 10,000 times sharper than a sword cut through the rainbow. A murderous aura that was so cold that it could shatter one's soul quickly shrouded the area within 10,000 miles. Ah! The colorful Phoenix King was shocked. She hurriedly looked towards the source of the murderous aura. When she saw what was happening clearly, the smile on her face froze. As for the Great Ape King, he activated the demonic core and rushed out of the joint blockade of Feng Wu and Huang Tong. Under the lead of the silver demonic core, his huge demonic body flashed through the space of 1,000 miles. Seeing that Xiao Hua had already flown up from the other side of the rainbow, the roaring azure dragon was now flashing with golden light. A drop of blood had seeped in from the azure dragon's dragon horn. The azure dragon struggled with all its might, but was unable to stop the blood from entering. How could the Great Ape King not know that Xiao Hua had already done something to the gold and wood original spirit? How could the incomparably arrogant Great Ape King hold back the anger in his heart? He roared, Damned human! Today you shall die here. As he spoke, the entire space within a few hundred miles of where the Great Ape King was trembling violently. Countless pillars of starlight and moonlight fell down like a flood, crazily rushing into the demonic core. The demonic core flashing with silver light rapidly expanded. In an instant, it was tens of thousands of feet in size. Roar! The Great Ape King roared. His huge demonic body actually took a step forward and rushed into the demonic core. At this moment, Xiao Hua had just flown into the air. He was also looking at the Great Ape King in bewilderment. He didn't know what kind of divine ability the Great Ape King was using. Boom! Just as the Great Ape King's figure entered the demonic core, the huge demonic core immediately exploded. In the soaring flames, thousands of Great Ape Kings rushed out from the flames. Without waiting for these figures to settle down, countless pillars of starlight and moonlight rushed out from the void. These thousands of Great Ape Kings rapidly expanded. In the blink of an eye, they all turned into Great Ape Kings that were exactly the same as the previous Great Ape King. Seeing that these thousands of Great Ape Kings had the same aura, the same ferociousness, And the same strength. Xiao Hua's eyes narrowed. He swept with his divine sense. Shua shua. His divine sense was already cut apart by the chaotic power of the 5 elements. Forget it. Xiao Hua withdrew his divine sense and said loudly, Great Ape King, you and I are not mortal enemies. I also don't want to be ruthless. This Xiao is going to use this metal and wood original spirit to save the world. It is 10,000 times more important than what you are using. So, this Xiao will remind you one last time. It is still not too late to stop now. Xiao Hua's voice was extremely loud, like the roar of thunder in the whole world. Bullshit. Thousands of great ape kings shouted in unison. I have taken a fancy to this metal and wood original spirit. This metal and wood original spirit is mine. I will give you one last chance. If you don't leave, don't blame me for beating you into meat paste. After saying that, the great ape king didn't give Xiao Hua any chance to speak again. Thousands of great ape kings opened their mouths at the same time. Silver light mixed with blood light completely sealed the area within 1,000 miles. This silver light was extremely fierce, as if every ray of light carried the fury of the great ape king. What was special was that when this ray of light entered the chaotic 5 elements and collapsed space, it actually shook the rainbow that ran through the heaven and earth. Xiao Hua's expression changed. Because the power of this silver light was really too great, it was really like thousands of great ape kings attacking at the same time. It was far more powerful than his hundreds of scattered nascent souls. If this silver light fell, not to mention his physical body, it would be difficult for his soul to enter the cycle of reincarnation. Humph. Xiao Hua coldly snorted. With a flip of his hand, the death spirit origin light shot out. At this time, the blade gourd was already different from before. A layer of black and white light covered the blade gourd. Along with Xiao Hua's hand forming a seal and touching the blade gourd, a black and white thing with a nose and eyes appeared. Whoosh! When this black and white thing opened its eyes, a black and white light screen instantly rushed out of the blade gourd, as if it wanted to cover the whole world. This light screen was different from the great ape king's silver light. It seemed to be able to split open the heaven and earth. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Immediately, thousands of death spirit origin light flew out, covering the sky and covering the earth. An ominous aura that covered the heaven and earth instantly rippled out violently. Chapter 48:12. The spirit-slaying Yuan light was no longer green and red like before. It had already turned into a yin-yang light. Wherever the yin-yang light passed, everything was destroyed. Regardless of whether it was the chaotic 5 elements, the collapsed space, or the ferocious silver light, nothing could stop it. Puff puff puff. Almost at the same time, thousands of spirit-slaying vital light landed on the heads of thousands of great ape kings. Without any resistance, the spirit-slaying vital light pierced deep into the brains of these great ape kings. Only a strange crown appeared on the head of a great ape king furthest away from Xiao Hua. It blocked the spirit-slaying vital light. Of course, this was the true body of the great ape king. The great ape king's face was filled with shock as he stared at the silver light that was capable of completely obliterating Xiao Hua. The great ape king retreated like a receding tide. His mouth gaped open as if he wanted to say something. Crack. In the blink of an eye, the spirit-slaying vital light flashed with an incomparably sharp halo. Wasn't this the essence of the world-destroying ephemera king's hind leg? Where the halo landed, it actually shattered the crown of the saint ranking. The spirit-slaying vital light went straight for the root of the problem. Xiao Hua's gaze swept across the sky. Many great saints had already appeared. They looked at Xiao Hua and the great ape king in confusion. Unfortunately, none of them spoke. Kill. Xiao Hua's heart moved. The spirit-slaying vital light intersected. Crack. The great ape king's head fell from his body. At the same time, a huge silver primordial spirit flew out of the great ape king's body. Unfortunately, just like the metal primordial spirit white tiger, and wood primordial spirit green dragon, the spirit-slaying vital light was like a nail that firmly nailed the primordial spirit to the body. No matter how the great ape king struggled, he couldn't escape. Roar roar. The great ape king, who had already been reduced to a primordial spirit, was still irritable. He roared and struggled. Ga. At this time, A phoenix cry resounded through the sky. Huang Tong flapped her wings and landed. Ah! The great ape king's primordial spirit saw Huang Tong and immediately panicked. Previously, with the protection of the demon body, the great ape king didn't feel anything scary about Huang Tong. However, with the primordial spirit, the great ape king suddenly realized that Huang Tong was filled with an aura that made him afraid. It was as if this phoenix body was formed from the souls of all living things. In the eyes of this great sage of the phoenixes, he was nothing more than food. The great ape king wasn't lying. Huang Tong was originally a phoenix dharma body. She used the netherworld wind to build her body in Mingxi. Then, she used the souls of Chao and I to condense her body. When Huang Tong reached the Xianyuan space, she swallowed all spirits and became the true king of all spirits. Weren't the great ape king, the golden-winged great Peng, the nether demonic dragon spider, and the grand mist ancestors' souls his food? Shua. Huang Tong opened her mouth and demonic energy landed on Great Ape King's primordial spirit. Great Ape King's primordial spirit immediately turned into a shadow and was swallowed by Huang Tong. Boom! As the Great Ape King was slain, the other 1,000 or so Great Ape King incarnations also collapsed, turning into pure and fresh moonlight. How can we waste such delicious food? Huang Tong spread her wings, and the 100-beast flag fell into the sky. Demonic aura spewed out and covered the space. As the 100-beast flag flapped, it swept away the brilliance of the moon and stars. That where do you think you're going? Huang Tong finished. Xiaohua scolded again. He raised his hand and pointed at the sword gourd. The spirit-slaying vital light that had not been retracted turned and pierced into the void. Naturally, the Rainbow Lion King was running away in the void. This great saint of the lion tribe had dodged the joint attack of Lightning Reverend and Yin Reverend. He was quite proud of himself and was ready to join hands with Great Ape King to kill Xiaohua and seize the gold and wood primordial spirit. However, before his pride could grow, he saw the power of the spirit-slaying vital light. The ferocious energy that could kill gods and destroy ghosts had completely obliterated the hope in his heart. What left in his heart was regret and regret. The spirit-slaying vital light killed Great Ape King too quickly. Just as the Rainbow Lion King was filled with regret, Great Ape King was already dead. Seeing Huang Tong fly past, the Rainbow Lion King did not dare to hesitate. Rainbow lights shone around his body as he fled into the void. Since the Rainbow Lion King had risked his life to escape, his speed was naturally fast. In just a few breaths, his body had disappeared. The traces in the void were like ripples on the surface of a lake, gradually calming down. At this time, Huang Tong had just swallowed Great Ape King's primordial spirit. Xiaohua pointed at the sword gourd again, and the spirit-slaying vital light pierced into the void. Great sage of the human race, please have mercy. Seeing Xiaohua's merciless attack, the swift cherry grand sage, who had just revealed himself, hurriedly cried out. Xiaohua looked around and saw more than 10 great sages of various races whose strength exceeded the 9th level of essence power. They were standing in various places. Whether intentionally or not, they surrounded Xiaohua and the others. Sorry. Xiaohua glanced at the kind-looking rabbit spirit and said embarrassedly, "You're too late." As Xiaohua's voice fell, the spirit-slaying vital light that pierced into the void retracted. The Rainbow Lion King's primordial spirit was pulled out of the void by the spirit-slaying vital light. Not only the swift cherry grand sage, but the other great sages who had not made a sound all sucked in a breath of cold air. Because in their hearts, they knew that since the Rainbow Lion King had escaped into the void, he would not have used the usual escape route. However, this great sage of the human race did not even look at where the Rainbow Lion King escaped to. He only used the spirit-slaying vital light to kill the Rainbow Lion King. What was special was that the spirit-slaying vital light was a lethal weapon. Even the primordial spirit of a great sage of the demon race was not spared. Since the Rainbow Lion King had cultivated to the level of a great sage, he naturally had many life-saving methods. Anyone would believe that whether it was the Rainbow Lion King or the Great Ape King, as long as their primordial spirits were left behind, they would definitely have methods unknown to others to rise again. However, they had encountered the spirit-slaying vital light. Their primordial spirits were pinned down, and there was no way for them to escape. All their methods were useless. Jie. As expected, just as the spirit-slaying vital light retracted, Huang Tong, who had swallowed the great ape king's primordial spirit, let out a phoenix cry. As she spread her wings, another wave of demonic aura descended. Help! The Rainbow Lion King, who had not shouted this word for many years, was terrified. Seeing Huang Tong attack, he could not help but cry out. Great Sage of the Phoenix Race. The Swift Cherry Grand Sage did not know Huang Tong's name and hurriedly shouted, "Can you show mercy?" Oh! Huang Tong stopped and turned to look at the Swift Cherry Grand Sage. Are you talking about me? The Swift Cherry Grand Sage saw that Huang Tong had stopped and hurriedly nodded. That's right. Although I don't know what happened here, since the Rainbow Lion King has been killed and only his primordial spirit is left, why don't you let him live? Huang Tong hesitated for a moment and smiled bitterly. I'm afraid it's too late. Oh, the Swift Cherry Grand Sage was stunned and looked at the Rainbow Lion King's primordial spirit. As expected, when the demonic aura descended from Huang Tong's mouth, the primordial spirit, which originally had a terrifying expression, was now dull and expressionless. The Swift Cherry Grand Sage glanced at Huang Tong. How could she not know that Huang Tong had done this on purpose? However, thinking about it carefully, since the great sage of the human race, Xiao Hua, had already killed the Rainbow Lion King, why would he spare his primordial spirit? Cutting the weeds and pulling up the roots was also applicable in the 10,000 demon realm. The Swift Cherry Grand Sage sighed slightly. Her gaze swept past Xiao Hua and Huang Tong and looked at the rainbow in the distance. Perhaps she was looking for a proverb in the 10,000 demon realm that said, "Birds die in pursuit of food and men die in pursuit of wealth." At this moment, the rainbow was different from before. As the metal elemental spirit and the wood elemental spirit's bodies gradually shrank and fell into the ground, the rainbow that pierced through the heavens and the earth also retreated. In the sky, the 5 elements elemental beasts' bodies gradually dimmed, and the ring-shaped waves that fell into the ground also began to fade. Looking at the imprisonment that was gradually disappearing within 10,000 miles, there was no longer any sound in the sky. It was not clear if the saints were afraid of Xiao Hua's spirit-slaying vital light, or if they were thinking of how to attack. In any case, the scene was very strange. The great sage of the human race, Xiao Hua, the 3-legged golden crow Qi Xian Grand Sage's body emitted a blinding golden light. Boundless heat waves seemed to scorch the surrounding void. His golden eyes were filled with anger as he opened his mouth and said, "I am the Qi Xian Grand Sage of the 10,000 demons realm. Let me ask you, why did you attack the moment you arrived in the 10,000 demons realm and killed 2 of our great sages? Do you know that the 10,000 demon realm has not lost a great sage for hundreds of thousands of years?" "I, Xiao Hua, greet the Qi Xian Grand Sage." Xiao Hua retracted the spirit-slaying vital light. He raised his hand, and the sword gourd landed on top of his head. He then cupped his hands and said, "I and my friends have just arrived in the 10,000 demon realm. We do not know the rules of the 10,000 demon realm. We have caused trouble for you." The Qi Xian Grand Sage nodded. His 3 legs swayed in the air as if he was returning the gesture. "I will not speak of the cause of the matter for the time being. However, when you great sages first appeared, you must have heard I's reminder. The metal and wood elemental magnetism is extremely important to me. I am the one who took it up to save billions of lives. I must have it. Since the great ape king did not know what I was thinking, I will remind you one last time. If you do not stop now, I will be ruthless." Xiao Hua was not afraid of the Qi Xian Grand Sage's anger. He looked around and said, "And the result? I believe all of you great sages have seen that the great ape king did not listen to my advice. Instead, he stubbornly used his doppelganger ability to kill me. Faced with such a situation, I would like to ask all of you great sages how would you deal with it? What about the Rainbow Lion King?" The Qi Xian Grand Sage seemed to be holding back his anger. Xiao Hua reached out and touched his nose. He smiled and said, "There is a saying in the human race, cut the weeds and dig up the roots." I do not know what you would do if you were in my shoes, but in a foreign land, I have to be ruthless. Just your ruthlessness alone destroyed 2 great sages of the 10,000 demon realm. The Qixuan Grand Sage narrowed his eyes. Xiaohua smiled slightly. He looked at the great sages who did not immediately attack and said, "You destroyed 2 great sages, but gained the friendship of 5 great sages of the human race, the Phoenix race, and the Thunder Spirit race. Don't you think it is a good deal, Qixuan Grand Sage?" Chapter 48:13. Great Sage Yuan Xian. Feng Wu and the others flew around Xiaohua to protect the metal and wood elemental magnetism. Feng Wu said, "Our goal is the metal and wood elemental magnetism. We are not interested in anything else in the 10,000 demon realm. Moreover, we will leave as soon as we get the metal and wood elemental magnetism. We will not interfere with the daily life of the 10,000 demon realm. As for the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King, it was just an accident. We warned them repeatedly, but even though they knew that we were 5 great sages, they still attacked us. I don't know what he's thinking, but all of you should calm down and think about it." Feng Wu didn't say much, but he immediately revealed the Great Ape King's evil intentions. There was only one metal and wood elemental magnetism. If it was divided into metal elemental spirits and wood elemental spirits, there would be 2. The Great Ape King and Rainbow Lion King had already taken the lead. If Xiaohua and the others weren't here, the 2 elemental spirits would definitely be theirs. Now that Xiaohua and the other great sages were here, they were also determined to get it. Even if Xiaohua didn't use the soul-slaying ray, the Great Ape King and Rainbow Lion King still wouldn't be a match for the 5 great sages. Since they were at such a disadvantage, why did the Great Ape King and Rainbow Lion King still want to fight? Needless to say, they must have planned to drag the other great sages into this maelstrom of chaos. They wanted to borrow the power of the 10 great sages from the 10,000 demon realm to kill Xiaohua and the other great sages from the outside world. If the soul-slaying ray didn't show its power, and Xiaohua didn't kill the Great Ape King and Rainbow Lion King in front of the Great Sage Yuan Xian and the others, the Great Sage Yuan Xian and the others would have attacked. At that time, the Great Ape King and Rainbow Lion King wouldn't be the only ones to die. Perhaps Xiaohua and the other great sages would also die, but the Great Sage Yuan Xian knew that he wouldn't be able to block this mysterious black and white sword light. If even the Great Sage Yuan Xian couldn't block it, then how many of the great sages here could leave alive? Xiaohua said that there were 5 great sages, but the Great Sage Yuan Xian knew that the first batch of great sages on the holy rankings had 6 great sages. This meant that there was another great sage from the spirit tribe hiding. What's more, who knew if the other 3 mysterious great sages were with this human great sage? In that instant, the Great Sage Yuan Xian felt regretful. He regretted that he had rushed over too quickly, and regretted that he had spoken too early. Humph. At this moment, the Leopard Whale King snorted coldly. The Great Ape King is a monkey who bullies the weak. This daddy hates him the most. I'm happier than anyone else that he's dead. Why am I here for no reason? As it spoke, some strange bubbles appeared around the Leopard Whale King's body, and its huge body fell into the void, disappearing in an instant. As soon as the Leopard Whale King left, the spirit race, ocean folk, and upper race great saints, who had been hesitating because of their pride, glanced at each other. Then, they glanced at the sword gourd above Xiaohua's head with fear. Their figures flickered, and they disappeared. Great Sage of the Human Clan. At this moment, the Holy Mother of Peacock, who had been silent and staring at Xiaohua, opened her mouth and said, "I heard you say that you need the gold and wood origin spirit to save the world. Where are you going to save the world? Which realm did you come from, and which realm are you going to?" "Sorry." Xiaohua pondered for a moment, then shook his head and said, "Forgive me for not being able to tell you this, but everything this Xiao said is true. Can I fly closer to take a look at you?" The Holy Mother of Peacock said in a very amiable tone. Xiaohua looked at the Holy Mother of Peacock strangely and asked, "May I know which great sage you are?" "Phoenix Sacred World's Peacock Race's Holy Mother of Peacock Race." The Holy Mother of Peacock replied with a smile. "However, I have yet to leave my name on the saint rankings. Therefore, I deserve the title of Great Sage." "Oh, so it's the Holy Mother of Peacock who created the language of the spirit race in the 1,000-demon world." Xiaohua had a good impression of her. He thought for a moment and nodded. "Of course. Good. The Holy Mother of Peacock spread her wings, then turned into smoke and landed in front of Xiaohua. Seeing the Holy Mother of Peacock's glassy eyes, Xiaohua did not hide anything and looked straight at the Holy Mother of Peacock's eyes. The Holy Mother of Peacock and Xiaohua looked at each other for a moment. Then a smile appeared on her face. She transmitted in a low voice, "I'm going to use some small skills. I hope that the great merciful Guanyin Bodhisattva will not blame me." Xiaohua took a deep breath and looked at the Holy Mother of Peacock in disbelief. The Holy Mother of Peacock smiled and said, "I am the Holy Mother of Peacock. Naturally, I have some skills. Bodhisattva, don't be afraid." Good. Xiaohua seemed to understand something and nodded. Whoosh. The Holy Mother of Peacock's closed tail suddenly exploded. A colorful halo rushed out from the tail of the peacock and covered half the sky. Xiaohua's eyes wandered around and looked at the countless halos. He saw the Buddhist kingdom, the demon realm, and the spirit world as if they were floating in the world. An indescribable clarity came from Xiaohua's forehead. The previous annoyance, anxiety, and uneasiness all disappeared in this clarity. Whoosh! The Holy Mother of Peacock closed her tail, and the colorful light disappeared. Then she said to the Rapid Cherry Grand Sage, "Rapid Cherry Grand Sage, this human great sage is not lying. He does have the mission of saving the world. Moreover, he is one of the few people in this world who is merciful and compassionate. The living beings in his hands are billions of times more than the living beings he killed." Ah! The Rapid Cherry Grand Sage was shocked and said in disbelief, "Holy Mother of Peacock, you didn't see wrong, did you?" The profound Grand Sage frowned and said, "That's impossible. According to what you said, if he killed 10 spirits, there should be 100,000 spirits. If he killed 10,000 spirits, there should be 100 million spirits." Profound Grand Sage, you heard wrong. The Holy Mother of Peacock said calmly, "It's billions of times, not 10,000 times. How is that possible?" The profound Grand Sage opened his mouth wide and could not believe his ears. "I know best what my exquisite mind is capable of," the Holy Mother of Peacock said proudly. "If you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do." With that, the Holy Mother of Peacock turned to Xiaohua and said, "I see that there is still some karma between us. If you have time, come to my Peacock Palace for a chat." "Sorry." Xiaohua shook his head. "I don't have time. I will leave the 10,000 demon realm after I collect the metal and wood elemental magnetism." "Fine." The Holy Mother of Peacock thought for a moment and flapped her tail. A 5-colored feather fell into the air. Then she opened her mouth and a drop of blood essence fell into the feather. When the feather landed in front of Xiaohua, she smiled and said, "It's fate that we met. Please give this to the fated person." Xiaohua narrowed his eyes. It was his first time meeting the Holy Mother of Peacock, but he had heard of her name and image. Didn't the fairy Hongxia of the Xiaoyu continent have the bloodline of the Holy Mother of Peacock? The Holy Mother of Peacock obviously wanted him to give the feather and blood essence to fairy Hongxia. But Xiaohua did not understand. How did the Holy Mother of Peacock see this karma? "Xiaohua, the great sage of the human race, we will meet again if fate allows." The Holy Mother of Peacock did not say much. She flapped her wings and disappeared into the void, leaving only her feather swaying in the air. The Holy Mother of Peacock was not as powerful as the profound Grand Sage or the Swift Cherry Grand Sage, but she was the most famous demon king in the 10,000 demon realm. She could even be said to be the #1 demon king in the 10,000 demon realm. Her fame did not lie in her abhijna, but in her fairness, benevolence, and clarity of heart. Especially the Ling clan language that was commonly used in the 10,000 demon realm, which gave her more prestige than some great sages. Unfortunately, the Holy Mother of Peacock never cared about gains or losses or status. Her abhijna in the Phoenix sacred realm might not be much worse than the 2 great sages, the colorful Phoenix King and the Fire Phoenix King, but she never fought for the limelight with the 2 great sages of the Phoenix clan. She was very clear about her position. At the same time, it was because of this that many great sages respected her. In today's situation, how could an ordinary demon king appear? And the Holy Mother of Peacock's arrival did not make any great sages feel that it was inappropriate. Sacred Mother Peacock's innate ability was the exquisite mind's eye. Because of this ability, she was able to see through people. Because of this, she was fair and impartial. Whenever Sacred Mother Peacock made a decision, there was an 80 to 90% chance of it being correct. Of course, the Holy Mother of Peacock usually kept a low profile. She basically would not say anything like today. Since the Holy Mother of Peacock dared to speak of Xiaohua's merits in front of the Xianxian Grand Sage and the Swift Cherry Grand Sage, she expressed her attitude and even gave Xiaohua the peacock plume. This meant that she completely trusted this great sage of the human race. She would not hate Xiaohua for killing the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King. Of course, the Holy Mother of Peacock was also very straightforward. After saying what she said, she left immediately. Whether or not the other great sages would listen to her, she would not interfere too much. After the Holy Mother of Peacock left, the Great Eagle King and the Striped Tiger King also turned and left. The Xianxian Grand Sage looked for a moment and said, "Great Sage of the human race, I do not believe you, but I believe the Holy Mother of Peacock. Since she said that your words are trustworthy, then I will believe you today." "Thank you, Xianxian Grand Sage." Xiaohua smiled and clasped his hands. "However, I will always keep an eye on this place. I hope that you will keep your word and leave the 10,000 demon realm immediately after taking the metal and wood elemental magnetism." Xiaohua smiled and said, "Of course, I will keep my word. However, I do not wish for anyone to spy on us. I hope that the Xianxian Grand Sage will forgive me." That is my business. It has nothing to do with you." The Xianxian Grand Sage snorted coldly. Golden light shone from his body and he disappeared in an instant. After the Xianxian Grand Sage left, the other great sages did not have the chance to stay. In just half a meal's time, only the Rapid Cherry Grand Sage and the Colorful Phoenix King were left in the sky. The Rapid Cherry Grand Sage looked at the Colorful Phoenix King and asked curiously, "Colorful Phoenix King, why are you not leaving?" The Colorful Phoenix King smiled and said, "I have some other things to discuss with the two great sages of the Phoenix race." "Oh, I see." The Rapid Cherry Grand Sage was enlightened. However, she smiled and said, "Wait a moment. I will ask about the cause of this matter first." Looking at the Rapid Cherry Grand Sage who looked like a jade rabbit, Xiaohua could not help but think of the moon beast in the ruins. Chapter 48:14. Great Saint of the Human Race. Swift Cherry Grand Sage asked, "Can you tell me what happened? After all, two great saints have fallen in the demon realm." Xiaohua kept the peacock plume and Divine Mother Peacock's blood essence, then told him about what happened in the Gale Abyss. In the end he said, "In order to please the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King, an ape and a lion disregarded the lives of thousands of pythons in the Gale Abyss. I knew they were arrogant people, so I ordered my disciples to kill them without hesitation. As for the cause of their deaths, you have seen it with your own eyes, so I won't go into detail. I dare not say that only those who are worthy can have the treasure, but I think I need it more than the Great Ape King." "Yes, I already know everything." Swift Cherry Grand Sage nodded. After a moment of hesitation, he said, "Although Divine Mother Peacock said you are one of the few merciful spirits in the world, your weapon is too fierce and harmful to the harmony of the world. Don't use it in the future. If you can." "I understand," Xiaohua said with a smile. "I have always been a virtuous person, and I don't like to use violence." "Good, then I hope you get what you want. Everything will go smoothly." Swift Cherry Grand Sage's two big ears flickered, which was rare for him. Then with a flash of moonlight he disappeared. Seeing that there were no other great saints around, Xiaohua glanced at Feng Wu and Huang Tong, then said to Colorful Phoenix King, "Colorful Phoenix King, I am very grateful that you sent Phoenix Emissary to the wasteland to find us. Although I don't know your purpose, it was because of your emissary that we could find the right direction. So, I want to thank you first." As he said that, Xiaohua cupped his fist and bowed to Colorful Phoenix King. "Not bad, not bad," Reverend Thunderbolt shouted. "If it weren't for that little phoenix, I don't know where we would be. Thank you, thank you." Seeing that all the great saints were bowing to her, Colorful Phoenix King hurriedly returned the gesture and said, I sent Phoenix Emissary to the wasteland because I have something important to ask. Feng Wu smiled and said, "Go ahead, Colorful Phoenix King." Well, King Colorful Phoenix gave Feng Wu and Huang Tong a look, then turned to Reverend Yun and said through voice transmission, "I wonder which great saint was the one who attracted the power of the stars and moon when he was listed on the saint ranking that day." Feng Wu frowned. He didn't expect that the Colorful Phoenix King of the spirit realm would be able to detect his activation of the power of the stars in the distant Bobo wasteland. Therefore, he also transmitted his voice, "It's me." "All right." The Colored Phoenix King stared at Feng Wu for a moment before asking abruptly, "Then I would like to ask Phoenix Sage, have you seen a human elder with the surname one?" "What?" Seeing how mysterious the Colorful Phoenix King was and how she had even sent over 1,000 Phoenix envoys to find her just to ask such a question, Feng Wu naturally blurted out. When the Colored Phoenix King saw Feng Wu's expression, she immediately understood. She said rather disappointedly, "If Phoenix Sage doesn't know, then forget it. However, I hope that Phoenix Sage will keep this a secret for me. Don't tell the other great sages about this." Feng Wu smiled and said, "Don't worry, Colorful Phoenix King. I'll definitely not mention this to them in the future." "All right, if that's the case, I won't disturb you anymore." The Colored Phoenix King smiled and said to Feng Wu and Xiao Hua, "If you come to the 10,000 Demon Realm again in the future, you can come to my Phoenix Shrine for a chat." "Sure, sure." Xiao Hua smiled and nodded. In fact, before the Colored Phoenix King asked Feng Wu to keep it a secret, Feng Wu had already told Xiao Hua with his mind. Naturally, Xiao Hua didn't know about the old man with the surname one. Seeing that the Colored Phoenix King was about to leave, Xiao Hua suddenly remembered something and asked, "By the way, Colored Phoenix King, I have something to ask." "Oh, please speak." The Colored Phoenix King stopped and said curiously. Xiao Hua asked, "I would like to ask if there's a great sage who has been missing for a long time in the 10,000 Demon Realm?" "A great sage who has been missing for a long time?" The Colored Phoenix King was stunned and became even more puzzled. She asked, "You great sages have just come from the outer realm. How do you know that there's a great sage who has been missing for a long time in the 10,000 Demon Realm? Could it be that you great sages have met him in the outer realm?" There's no need for the Colored Phoenix King to ask. Xiao Hua knew that the Colored Phoenix King would ask this question and immediately replied, "This is a secret of mine. If the Colored Phoenix King doesn't want to answer, it's fine." The Colored Phoenix King shook her head and said, "It's not that I don't want to answer, but I don't know how to answer. Because there's no great sage who has been missing for a long time in the 10,000 Demon Realm." "Ah, it can't be." Xiao Hua turned pale with fright. "That's impossible, right?" "Nothing is impossible." The Colored Phoenix King laughed. However, she seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly said, "Oh right. Speaking of this, I almost forgot. There's a great sage of the Spirit Clan in the Huatian realm. He seemed to have been missing for a period of time. However, just as the Spirit Clan Kings were discussing, he appeared again. It turns out that he didn't go missing but went into seclusion to cultivate. It really is Minghua's doppelganger." Xiao Hua understood as soon as he heard it. He secretly nodded and thought, the seven-colored sea god shell is right. It's because Minghua has a doppelganger that the Huatian realm is not in chaos. I'm afraid that only by combining Minghua's original body with his doppelganger, can Minghua's original body be awakened? Great sage, are you looking for this heavenly King Hua? The Colored Phoenix King laughed and said, "However, it's a bit troublesome for the great sage to look for heavenly King Hua now. There's a war going on in the Huatian realm. He shouldn't be in the mood to pay attention to the great sage." "Hehe, I'm just asking. I have no intention of looking for this heavenly King Hua." Xiao Hua hurriedly waved his hand. "All right then, I'll take my leave." The Colored Phoenix King nodded. She urged her body to rush into the sky and disappeared. After the Colored Phoenix King left, Xiao Hua looked around and saw that the rainbow in the sky had completely disappeared. The chaotic 5 elements had also recovered. Xiao Hua released his divine thought to explore for a moment. He smiled bitterly and said, "Fellow Taoists, the laws of heaven and earth in the 10,000 demon realm are different from those in the 3 continents. It's also different from the ruins. The metal and wood elemental magnetism have already turned into spirits. Although the metal elemental spirit and wood elemental spirit have already seeped into my blood essence, it's still not a day's work to refine them. Isn't that simple? The Thunderbolt Immortal laughed and said, of course, when fellow Taoist Xiao was in the ruins, didn't you use the method of refining the 5 elements wishful heaven staff to store the magnetism into your space? Now you only need to use the same trick again. It's not the same. Xiaohua shook his head and said, at that time, the land of the ruins had already been torn apart by the 2 magnetism. I had no other choice but to use that method. If I use it again now, it will definitely tear the land apart this time. Over 3,650 acres of land will completely collapse. Although it won't affect the entire 10,000 demon realm, Little White Dragon's Gale Abyss, I'm afraid it will no longer exist. Do you think I can destroy the home in Little White Dragon's heart? Forget it. Feng Wu shook his head and said, now, as long as we collect the gold and wood magnetism, we can directly return to the Dawn Rain continent through the spatial tunnel. If we're lucky, we can directly see the 3 peaks of heaven, earth, and man. Calculating the time, we can afford to wait. Xiaohua thought for a while and said, I was thinking of asking a fellow Taoist to go to the Huatian realm and have a look at the situation of the spatial tunnel. But now that there's a war in the Huatian realm, I'm sure it's heavily guarded. Although the Huatian realm is now Minghua's clone, it won't be good if we attract his attention and cause him to misunderstand. So, why don't we just stay here and wait until we collect the gold and wood magnetism, then go to the Huatian realm? Alright, let's stay here. Reverend Yin also agreed. We'll stay here to protect fellow Taoist. Fellow Taoist, you should enter the magnetism space first and think of a way to refine the magnetism. The earlier we can, the better. Deal. Xiaohua nodded. At this time, the Black Bear spirit brought Little White Dragon and Shuiyu over. When Shuiyu saw Xiaohua and the others, she immediately bowed and said, Junior thanks all the great saints for saving my Gale Abyss. You're welcome. Xiaohua quickly helped Shuiyu up and said, actually, killing Great Ape King and Rainbow Lion King may not be a good thing for your Gale Abyss. The Ape and Lion clans will inevitably vent their anger on your Python clan. Shuiyu smiled bitterly and said, Great Saint, you're overthinking it. In fact, this ending has been decided since 100 years ago. Now that Great Saint has killed Great Ape King and Rainbow Lion King, I'm sure it will have a deterrent effect. The Ape and Lion clans may not dare to come. And within 1,000 years, the Ape and Lion clans will definitely be in chaos. They won't have the time to care about the Gale Abyss. What about 1,000 years later? Xiaohua's heart moved and he asked thoughtfully. Shuiyu's white jade-like face blushed and replied. Chu Han said that if he was given 1,000 years, he would definitely be able to make the Gale Abyss stand tall in the 10,000 demon realm. 1,000 years is too short. Xiaohua glared at Little White Dragon. Obviously, he knew that he was bragging in front of Shuiyu and said, 10,000 years is more like it. Big brother. Little White Dragon shrugged and said, although little brother doesn't have your peerless aptitude, little brother is much stronger than other demon clans. 1,000 years is about right? Up to you. Xiaohua didn't want to expose Little White Dragon's background, so he waved his hand and said, now that the Gale Abyss has just passed, it's better to rest and recuperate. You guys can do these things on your own. Little White, Big brother still needs to refine the metal and wood elemental magnetism here. You should help Shuiyu as well. Okay, big brother, don't worry. Little White Dragon nodded and flew away with Shuiyu. After Little White Dragon and Shuiyu left, Xiaohua looked at Black Bear Spirit and said with a smile, Black Bear, you did well. Master. Black Bear Spirit didn't dare to claim any credit and said honestly, it's all because of Master's good teaching. If it wasn't for Master's teaching, how would I know to take responsibility for everything so that the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King wouldn't vent their anger on the Gale Abyss? You flatter me so much that I don't even know how to praise you. Xiaohua smiled and took out the Kunlun mirror and said, you should go back and cultivate. Yes, Master. Black Bear Spirit was overjoyed. His figure followed the Pillar of Light and landed on Shenhua continent. Chapter 48:15. After keeping the black bear spirit, Xiaohua released his divine thought again. He did not discover any other great saints from the 10,000 demon realm. He then looked in the direction of the Gale Abyss. Little White Dragon and Shuiyu were flying around sweetly. The Python tribe and the Snake tribe had already begun to clean up the quagmire. They must have received Little White Dragon's orders. Xiaohua smiled and retracted his divine thought. He looked at the Thunderbolt Immortal and the others who were guarding the sky. He cupped his hands and landed on the ground that Xiaohua originally planned to last for a few years in the metal and wood magnetic space with the White Tiger and Azure Dragon, who had already become spirits. However, the progress of the refinement was far beyond his expectations. It was because the White Tiger and Azure Dragon had already become spirits that they could easily absorb and integrate Xiaohua's essence and blood. They also had the instinct to avoid harm. What was special was that after Xiaohua inadvertently revealed the aura of the other magnetic forces in the Shenhua continent, the White Tiger and Azure Dragon actually took the initiative to cooperate with Xiaohua's refinement, wanting to enter Xiaohua's space as soon as possible. In the end, after 81 days, Xiaohua actually absorbed the metal and wood magnetic force into his space. The Thunderbolt Immortal and the other clones naturally knew that Xiaohua's progress was smooth. They were not particularly surprised when they saw the ground shaking. However, Little White Dragon, who was dealing with the Python tribe's affairs with Shuiyu in the Gale Abyss, became nervous and hurriedly flew out of the quagmire. As soon as Little White Dragon moved, Shuiyu panicked. After all, Shuiyu had been helping Little White Dragon clean up the mess in the Gale Abyss for the past few weeks. She could already tell that the Python tribe, which had suffered heavy losses, would not survive for more than 10 years without Little White Dragon's support. The nearby Hound tribe, Wolf tribe, and other tribes would soon devour the Gale Abyss and drive the Python tribe out of the Gale Abyss. Shuihan. Shuiyu flew out of the quagmire and looked at Little White Dragon who was about to rush into the air. She said anxiously, You should go and come back early. The Gale Abyss cannot leave you. I cannot leave you either. Yes, I know. Little White Dragon looked at Hengyu's anxious expression and her shyness. A smile appeared on his face as he said, You can go back first. I'll be right back with Big Brother. All right. Huayu wanted to persuade the Little White Dragon to stay, but she knew that compared to the matters of the great sages of the human tribe and the great sages of the Phoenix tribe, the matters of the Gale Abyss were insignificant. She did not dare to delay the Little White Dragon and the other great sages because of the Gale Abyss. Shuiyu stood in the air for a long time as she watched the Little White Dragon fly away. It was as if she was looking forward to the end of the world. Without waiting for the Little White Dragon to arrive, the trembling and rumbling of the earth had already stopped. The halo and the 5 elemental spiritual chi in the sky had also disappeared. Xiaohua flew out of the magnetic space with a smile on his face. Congratulations, fellow Taoist. The Thunderbolt Immortal and the others were overjoyed as they stood up and said, Congratulations to you, congratulations to you. Xiaohua cupped his hands and said, The matter in the 10,000 demon realm has been settled. Let's hurry back to the Dawn Rain continent. All right. Feng Wu and the others retracted their figures. Xiaohua took out the Kunlun mirror. As the light vibrated, except for Huang Tong, everyone else was sucked into the space. Big Brother. Little White Dragon saw that only Xiaohua and Huang Tong were left standing in midair and hurriedly shouted, How can it be so smooth? What? Do you still want Big Brother to stay in the 10,000 demon realm for a few more years? Xiaohua asked with a smile. He seemed to be in an extremely good mood. Little White Dragon was a little flustered and hurriedly waved his hand. No. I just feel that things are going too smoothly. It's not as difficult as Big Brother said. Xiaohua smiled and said, The 10,000 demon realms' laws of heaven and earth are different from the 3 continents. Big Brother's guess is wrong. Let's go. You take Big Brother to the space channel, and then go to the Dawn Rain continent with Big Brother. Other things aside, the 3 nascent soul stage cultivators who tried to kill you that day, I will definitely let them know the consequences of killing me, Shang Huaming. Xiaohua originally thought that Little White Dragon would excitedly fly up, and excitedly take him to the space channel like in the 3 continents. but who knew that little white dragon was actually a little hesitant. He opened his mouth but did not say anything. Then he said, "Let's go, little brother will take big brother there." Little white. Xiaohua was a little puzzled and asked curiously, "What's wrong with you?" "Nothing, nothing." Little white dragon's body swam and he forced a smile. "Little brother will." "Nonsense." Huang Tong scolded. "You clearly have something in your heart, and you still dare to say that it's nothing? You are so secretive. Do you still treat Xiaohua as your big brother?" Huang Tong's thoughts were naturally Xiaohua's thoughts. Xiaohua smiled and said, "Little white, although you are not my biological brother, don't forget that you have cultivated together with Taoist priest Wu in my soul. I gave my soul to you and you gave your life to me. What else in this world can't be entrusted to you? Didn't you say it yourself? Your soul is similar to mine. If you turn into me, even the Mahavairakana Buddha wouldn't be able to tell the difference? In that case, what are you hiding from Big Brother? Could it be you don't want to take Big Brother to the space channel? Could it be that you don't want to go to the Dawn Rain continent to take revenge? Big Brother." Little white dragon's face was red and he hurriedly replied, "Don't misunderstand. Although I don't dare to say that everything that little brother has now is given by Big Brother, but what Big Brother has given little brother. Little brother can't use it all in this lifetime. It's not that little brother doesn't want to take Big Brother to the space channel, but little brother suddenly doesn't want to go to the Dawn Rain continent." "Oh, why?" Xiaohua smiled and said, "Don't forget that it was the 3 nascent soul cultivators of the Dawn Rain continent who suddenly attacked you when you were transforming into a dragon. They almost caused your soul to be destroyed. Don't you want to take revenge?" Little white dragon didn't hesitate and said, "Speaking of revenge, of course, when little brother transformed into a soul, the desire for revenge was the strongest. If it wasn't for this obsession, little brother reckoned that little brother would have turned into green smoke that day and never see Big Brother again. That day when I was cultivating in Big Brother's mysterious dark clouds, little brother was also thinking about condensing my body every moment and thinking about revenge. However, after condensing my body on Dragon Island, little brother knew that it wasn't good to return to the Dawn Rain continent. That thought of revenge also faded. After being suppressed, little brother cultivated in the midst of tempering and replaced the old hatred with new hatred. After Big Brother rescued little brother and destroyed the 3 demon realm cultivators, little brother saw Biqing again and saw her embarrassment of losing her demon realm. Little brother's hatred for Biqing was forgotten. Then little brother saw old ancestor thinking about the Shell clan every moment and thinking about the hatred in her heart. Those days weren't as carefree as Big Brother at all. Little brother reflected on his hatred and also felt that this hatred must be avenged, but there was no need to make hatred the most important thing in life. Then what is the most important thing? Xiaohua didn't express his opinion and interrupted to ask. Life, family, love, harmony, and so on. Little white dragon said a few words in one breath. That's right, there's also home. Little brother suddenly felt that the most ordinary things were the most important things. In fact, cultivation might not even be the most important thing anymore. Oh, of course, if you don't cultivate, you won't be able to do it without tyrannical strength. So, you chose to stay in the Gale Abyss? Xiaohua was very emotional in his heart, but he still asked. Little white dragon was a little ashamed and nodded. Yes, Big Brother, little brother has let you down. Little brother doesn't want to go to the Dawn Rain continent to take revenge, and also doesn't want to return to the West Sea. I'll be the Dragon King of the West Sea again. Little brother wants to stay in the Gale Abyss, and little brother also believes that in the 10,000 demon realm, little brother can also be a Dragon King with his own strength, and can also be a great sage of a realm. Xiaohua nodded and raised his hand to place on little white dragon's head. He patted it lightly and smiled. Little white, you didn't disappoint Big Brother's expectations. On the contrary, Big Brother is very happy with your choice. Your choice has the weight of family, the burden of love, and even the heavy responsibility of reviving the Dragon Clan in the 10,000 demon realm. Your choice is more difficult than going to the Dawn Rain continent. This road is more dangerous. Moreover, you've let go of your hatred, and it made your heart more than one level higher. The dragon clan naturally wouldn't let anyone touch their head, but Xiaohua's hand made little white dragon feel safe. He didn't mind that Xiaohua touched the dragon clan's reverse scale, but pretended to be surprised and said, "Don't, big brother. Little brother didn't say that I've let go of my hatred. I just feel that the three enemies of the Dawn Rain continent are only nascent soul cultivators. How is it worth big brother and little brother to take action together? When the time comes, big brother can just lift a finger and take revenge for little brother. It's not worth it for little brother to go to the Dawn Rain continent again. Haha, if you don't want to do it, then let big brother do it? Big brother is also a great ascension stage human, he won't do it easily." Xiaohua smiled. "Then let Black Bear Spirit do it," Little White Dragon said without hesitation. Let Black Bear Spirit talk with the three nascent soul cultivators about ideals, love, and the scenery of the netherworld. Sweat. Huang Tong's face was full of black lines. She said, "Little White Dragon, have you been sleeping with that little white python too much these days?" "Huang Sheng," Little White Dragon said anxiously. "You dare to peep at little brother? The movements in the deep pool are so big, is there a need to peep?" Huang Tong said with disdain. Xiaohua smiled and took back his hand from Little White Dragon's head. He said, "In that case, big brother will listen to you. You don't have to take big brother to the spatial passage. We know the left and right positions too." "No, big brother," Little White Dragon said firmly. Although little brother won't go to the Dawn Rain continent, little brother still wants to take big brother to the spatial passage. This is the last thing little brother will do for big brother. As he spoke, Little White Dragon suddenly cried out, "Big brother!" Following the call, Little White Dragon's body shrunk, still in the shape of a python, flew over and wrapped around Xiaohua's body. Chapter 48:16. Sigh. Xiaohua sighed. His mood was the same as Little White Dragon's. He knew that this farewell would be eternal. He was about to fly, but Little White Dragon still didn't know when he could ascend to the Demon League. As for the immortal world and the Demon League, it was not something that Xiaohua could understand at the moment. Xiaohua took out the Kunlun mirror and released Daoist which had long been human. At this time, he was already shedding tears and letting Little White Dragon wrap around his body. After a moment, Xiaohua put away his sadness and forced a smile. "Little White, actually, it's not wise for you to stay in the Gale Abyss, not to mention leaving Bibbo and the others here. I think you should consider the predicament you will face after Big Brother leaves. After all, there were no dragons in the 10,000 demon realm before. The dragons that Big Brother brought from the three continents, and the descendants of the seven-colored sea god Shell, were all placed in the Jade Azure Sea. It's still far from the spiritual realm and relatively safe." Little White Dragon nodded and said, "Big Brother is right. What the first dragon has to face is what the entire dragon race should face. But what the second dragon has to face is half of what the entire dragon race has to face. When there are more dragons, this kind of direct confrontation will be less. But no matter who comes, there must be a first dragon. Little brother is fortunate to be the first dragon, and it is also a test for little brother. Little brother feels that little brother should accept this test in this sky, in this earth, in this place where the demon race runs rampant." "Good." Little White Dragon said this. What else could Xiaohua say? His own disciple had to break free from his wings, so Little White Dragon had more reason to walk his own path. "Big brother, don't worry." Little White Dragon smiled. "Little brother's memory has recovered a lot. After a while, it will definitely be fully recovered. Little brother grew up in the Gale Abyss, and will travel more in the 10,000 demon realm in the future. If there is something that I can't handle, I will naturally migrate to the Jade Azure Sea." "Okay." Xiaohua smiled. "Then Big Brother won't say anything. But Bibbo and the others, are you going to let them out now? Biushi, what can she think? Now that too many pythons in the Gale Abyss have died, to have more pythons and dragons, she can't wait to smile." Little White Dragon patted his chest and said, "Besides, I've already told her about it. She has nothing to object to." As he spoke, Little White Dragon took out a long bay and handed it to Xiaohua, saying, Big brother, this is the corpse of the West Sea Dragon King and the Dragon Emperor of the West Sea Dragon Palace. I'll leave it to Big brother. There are many dragons in the Fortune Gate. Big brother can make them the Dragon Kings of the West Sea Divine Dragon Palace. Looking at the long bay in the little white dragon's hand, Xiaohua sighed even more. He really didn't expect that the problem that he had been vexing over for a long time would be easily solved by the little white dragon's retreat. Little White Dragon seemed to have withdrawn from the competition for the Dragon King of the West Sea Dragon Palace, but he had gained the entire 10,000 demon realm. Between the gains and losses, who could say for sure? AI, what the ancients said is good. Take a step back and you will be able to see the world, Xiaohua said. The ancients really didn't deceive me. With that said, Xiaohua put away Long Bei and took out the Kunlun mirror. He said to Taoist Witch, fellow Taoist, please accompany Little White and release Jade Wave and the others. Oh, also, a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. If fellow Taoist has time, you can help Little White leave a few paths out. Haha, yes, Big brother really thought it through. Little brother almost forgot. The little white dragon hurriedly cheered. Taoist Witch nodded. In that case, I ask fellow Taoists to wait for a few more days. I will be back in a moment. No problem. Xiaohua nodded. For Little White's safety, it is only right to stay for a few more days. Thank you, Big brother. The little white dragon smiled and pulled Taoist Witch away. Taoist Witch was already a great sage with a 10th grade essence force, but the way the little white dragon put its arm around his shoulder was much more intimate than Xiaohua. Seeing the little white dragon leave, Xiaohua looked at the little white dragon's back with a complicated gaze and said, Little White can actually let go of his hatred. This is really beyond my expectations. Huang Tong curled her lips and said, Don't think too highly of him. He just doesn't want to leave the land of love. If so, why would he put the land of love in the Gale Abyss? Xiaohua pursed his lips and smiled. Beside the Gale Abyss, 2 great sages of the demon clan have fallen. It has long become the center of attention. If this is the land of love, where is it not? This is the little white dragon testing himself. Hehe, I'm afraid he was forced by Jianghong. Huang Tong somewhat understood. No matter the reason, if he can reach this step, there will definitely be a place for him in the 10,000 demon realm in the future. Xiaohua looked up at the hazy horizon and said, The people, demons, dragons that need our protection, are leaving one by one. We are already lonely. The roads of the 4 continents are already empty. When it's time to leave, leave. Huang Tong's heart was filled with sorrow. Staying here is also annoying. You are not missed by anyone. But I still have people who miss me. Xiaohua rolled his eyes at Huang Tong and said, I can't bear to leave. Forget it. Huang Tong laughed. When you reach the Dawnrain continent and Fairy Hongxia knows that you have Princess Zixia, won't she make you kneel on a washboard? What's a washboard? Xiaohua understood what Huang Tong meant, but he still asked curiously. The Xinyuan space is a wooden board that mortals use to wash their clothes. Huang Tong explained the origin of the washboard and Xiaohua laughed. With Divine Mother Peacock's peacock plume and blood essence, would Fairy Hongxia be willing? Are you that confident? Huang Tong looked at Xiaohua with interest. When the time comes, you will still be kicked out of bed. Sweat. Suddenly, Xiaohua's forehead was covered in sweat. Huang Tong, Feng Wu and the other clones could now freely enter and exit the space. Would he not have any secrets in the future? In order to set up the array for Little White Dragon, Taoist priest Wu spared no effort. Not only did he spend a lot of time, he also asked Taoist priest Yun to help. After 10 days, Little White Dragon returned with a smile on his face and Taoist priest Wu's shoulder. Looking at the 2 of them secretly laughing, those who did not know would think that they went to the dog clan nearby to steal demon fruits. Xiaohua did not ask any more questions. He took out the Kunlun mirror and kept Taoist priest Wu. He waved his hand and said, Little White, bring us to the space tunnel near the Huatian realm. We will leave now. Okay. Little White Dragon said as he rushed into the sky. But before he could fly a few miles, he saw a whirlwind sweep him up. It was Huang Tong who took him and disappeared in an instant. Little White Dragon had already mentioned the location of the space tunnel. Now that they had arrived at the Gale Abyss, Huang Tong could naturally find it. Instead of saying that Little White Dragon was leading the way, it was more like he was sending Xiaohua to the Dawn Rain mainland. After flying for more than 10 days, the scenery of the land changed again. Countless lofty mountains and precipitous ridges appeared like a chessboard. These ridges were different from the other ridges. There were no trees on them, and most of them were low vines and thorns sticking to the ground. What was special was that among the vines and thorns, the exposed rocks were mostly light purple, which was very strange. As for the mountains, there were also no plants. There was a lot of light purple gravel and rocks everywhere. Even ordinary rivers and streams were rare. Strange, is this the Huatian realm? Xiaohua's divine consciousness swept over, and saw some spirit clan members moving among the rocks, and some moving under the gravel. He was stunned. Minghua is from the Shell clan. How did he? Thinking of this, Xiaohua immediately laughed. Was there a need to say more? Minghua wanted to hide his true form from the other demon clans in the 10,000 demon realm. Naturally, he had to live in a place without water, so that the other great sages would think that his true form was from the Spirit clan, and not the Shell clan. Even if his great enemy, the Sea clan, chased after him, it would not be easy to find him. Big brother. Little White Dragon was not far away. Suddenly he pointed in a direction and shouted, I remember now. Minghua and I have been here before. The space tunnel is in that direction. Huang Tong glanced at his divine sense and said, That's the northeast border of the Huatian realm. Yes, it's similar to what Little White said earlier. Xiaohua looked and nodded. Let's hurry over there. But Little White Dragon suddenly remembered something and hurriedly said, Big brother, didn't you promise the old ancestor to awaken Supreme Saint Minghua? Oh, it seems that the seven-colored sea god shell has told you everything, Xiaohua said with a smile. This old shell still doesn't trust me. Hee, Big brother is well aware. Little White Dragon laughed. Moreover, Minghua has helped me before. I can't forget this matter. Xiaohua waved his hand and gave another seashell to Little White Dragon. Big brother has delayed your trip to the 10,000 demon realm for too long. Previously, I heard from the colorful Phoenix King that the Huatian realm is now in a state of war. The avatar of Supreme Saint Minghua is probably overwhelmed. Big brother won't see him. As for Minghua's true form, I'll leave it to you. When the war in the Huatian realm is over, it won't be too late for you to see Minghua's avatar. It can't be. Little White Dragon was a little stunned and hurriedly waved his hand. How can Big brother give Minghua's true form to me? This is what you promised. Little White Dragon had just said this when he suddenly realized something and stopped. He looked at Xiaohua and said, Big brother, you are really too good to me. It's nothing. Xiaohua laughed. You think too much. I'm just being lazy. Sigh, Big brother. Little White Dragon saw Xiaohua deny it and sighed. He took the seashell and did not explain. He understood in his heart that although he and Minghua had a karma, Minghua clearly said that this karma was only limited to the cultivation of the dragon transformation ability. When Minghua stopped cultivating the dragon transformation ability, it was the time when the karma between the two demon clans ended. Minghua left Yellow Flower Ridge and left Little White Dragon to guard the mountain. This meant that this karma had ended. In the future, Minghua could see Little White Dragon as a passerby. Once again, I would like to thank Cabbage and Reincarnation E as representatives of the various Taoists. Please be patient and wait for the excitement after God cultivation. Chapter 48:17. And from the way Minghua sealed Little White Dragon's memories, Minghua was more similar to the rainbow seashell's ruthlessness and cold-bloodedness, unlike Xiaohua's nostalgia and amiability. Therefore, Little White Dragon might not be able to borrow Minghua's power in Gale Abyss in the future, and even have to worry about Minghua's secret to prevent Minghua from killing him. Xiaohua had given Little White Dragon the main body of the Dark Flower, and had Little White Dragon personally restore the main body of the Dark Flower. This was a favor that Little White Dragon owed. As long as Minghua still had a bit of demonic nature, he would think of this kindness and take care of Little White Dragon in the 10,000 demon realm, watching over Gale Abyss. Even when Little White Dragon's life was threatened, he would return the favor. Let's go. Xiao Hua smiled and waved his hand, grabbing Little White Dragon from Huang Tong's claws. Send your big brother off again. If we meet again in the future, I'm afraid it will be in the Immortal Realm or the Demon League. Big brother. Tears fell from Little White Dragon's eyes like rain. Within a few miles of space, there was a change in the weather. Although there were no dark clouds, the water element heaven and earth's spiritual energy was rich. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. It started to drizzle. Although Xiao Hua and Little White Dragon's hearts were heavy, the journey was very short. In less than a few hours, 2 towering mountains were already in sight. Big brother. Little White Dragon looked at the mountain peak and said, Little brother has remembered. That place is where the spatial passageway is. Little brother tore through the void and entered the Dawn Rain continent with the dark mantra between the 2 mountain peaks. Good. Xiao Hua took a deep breath and scanned with his divine sense. He didn't see anything unusual around him and said, Even if you send your friend off for 1,000 miles, you still have to part in the end. Little White, cultivate well and strive to be engraved on the saint list as soon as possible and ascend to the Demon League. Yes, I understand. Little White Dragon knew that the time to leave had come. He nodded and said, I will remember Big Brother's teachings and cultivate well. You go. Biqing and Xian Yu are still waiting for you. Xiao Hua let go of Little White Dragon and said with a smile. No, Big Brother. Little White Dragon wouldn't go back. He forced a smile and said, I have time to reunite with them. I should send Big Brother first. Xiao Hua raised his eyes and looked at the mountain peak that was not far away. He did not force Little White Dragon. He nodded slightly and slowed down. When they reached the mountain peak, Little White Dragon used its dragon claw to point at the intersection of the 2 mountain peaks and said, Big Brother, the entrance to the spatial tunnel is there. Good. Big Brother knows. Xiao Hua looked and said, You can go back. No. Little White Dragon still shook his head. Little brother will wait here. After Big Brother leaves, Little brother will return. Seeing that Little White Dragon was like a child who was reluctant to leave its parents, Xiao Hua's eyes reddened. He scolded himself in his heart for being too soft. It seemed that ever since the apocalypse of the 3 continents came, he had already been soft-hearted and cried many times. But when he looked at Little White Dragon's pitiful appearance, and then at the strange and dangerous environment of the 10,000 demon realm, he was worried that he would overshadow Yu Rou. Huang Tong understood Xiao Hua's intentions and didn't say much. She spread her wings and flew into the sky. When she landed between the 2 mountains, she flapped her wings and used her space technique. After a moment, ripples appeared in the space. She raised her 2 phoenix claws and countless runes fell into the void. With a claw, the void was torn apart. Huang Tong's figure disappeared into it. After looking for a while, she stuck her head out and shouted, Xiao Hua, there is indeed a spatial tunnel here. Got it. Xiao Hua replied in a long voice. He seemed to be very dissatisfied with Huang Tong's lack of tact. Big brother, let's go. Little White Dragon urged. The billions of creatures in the 3 continents are still waiting for Big Brother to save them. Princess Wuxia is also waiting for Big Brother to marry her. Oh, Little Brother wishes Big Brother to have a child soon. Sweat. Xiao Hua was speechless. Ever since he said this to Su Ji, this seemed to be the 2nd time someone said this to him. Okay, Big Brother is leaving. Xiao Hua didn't dare to stay any longer. He was afraid that Little White Dragon would say something unreliable again. Goodbye, Big Brother. Tears welled up in Little White Dragon's eyes again. A drizzle appeared in the nearby sky again. Xiao Hua flew into the air. He didn't avoid Little White Dragon and let Huang Tong hide in his body. Then, Xiao Hua's transcendence golden body quickly changed. When a phoenix demon body of the same size was born, Xiao Hua let out a long cry. He stretched out his sharp claws and tore through the void, rushing into the spatial tunnel. Seeing Xiao Hua's figure disappear, layers of indescribable 4-colored brilliance appeared from the space. Then, like a blooming epiphyllum, it surged out. Waves of fluctuations also rushed out as if the space had exploded. The black and white spatial clouds also churned strangely. Little White Dragon knew that Xiao Hua had already entered the spatial tunnel. It wouldn't be long before he could tear through the realm barrier and enter the Dawn Rain continent. Goodbye, Big Brother. I hope everything goes well for you. Little White Dragon said in his heart again. He was about to urge his dragon body to return to the Gale Abyss. But at this time, a strange change suddenly occurred. A silent brilliance flashed in the void and swept across Little White Dragon's dragon body. Ayo! Little White Dragon roared. A dazzling brilliance appeared on its dragon head. This brilliance actually turned into a serrated chain that crazily rotated around Little White Dragon's dragon head. Little White Dragon's dragon body tumbled rapidly in the air with this serrated chain, as if it was in so much pain that it had gone crazy. Boom! Little White Dragon was in so much pain that its dragon head desperately crashed into the mountain peak. The entire mountain peak collapsed. Following the collapse of the mountain peak, the spatial tunnel that Xiaohua had escaped into earlier was suffused with a layer of 7-colored brilliance. This brilliance was exactly the same as the 7 colors of the rainbow sea god shell. After this brilliance appeared, it rapidly shrank. The space within 1,000 miles of the 2 mountain peaks collapsed piece by piece. Countless amounts of heaven and earth yuan qi were born from all over. It was like a horned dragon that crashed into this collapsed space. Roar! Little White Dragon roared again. The sound shook the entire wilderness. Then, its huge dragon body tumbled in the air for a moment. With a boom, it fell from the sky. Little White Dragon had actually fainted. Almost at the same time, in the depths of the Gale Abyss, Huanyu was swimming with her jade white python body. Beside her, Baibo was also swimming leisurely. At this time, Baibo was no longer the size of the 3 continents. That flapping shell had already turned into 100 feet in size. Its aura was rather majestic. Beside her, those small snakes and shellfish had also begun to show signs of life. Huanyu seemed to be saying something to Baibo suddenly. Huanyu's expression changed. Her entire python body violently tumbled. The expression on her python head was also abnormally painful. In just a moment, Huanyu cried out. Huan. Then, Huanyu's twitching python body suddenly relaxed. Her entire python body slowly fell to the bottom of the deep pool. Huanyu also fainted. Huanyu! Baibo was shocked. She chased after Huanyu to the bottom of the pool. She really did not understand what happened to Huanyu. Whether it was Little White Dragon, Huanyu, or Baibo, they naturally did not know what had happened. At this time, the one who was most clear about what had happened should be Xiaohua. Xiaohua tore through the void and entered the space channel. Seeing those fragmented space cracks and the black and white halos flowing out from the cracks, an indescribable aura of the boundary barrier seeped out from the extremely complicated space cracks in the distance. The corner of Xiaohua's mouth rose slightly. He spread his wings and rushed into one of the space cracks with ease as if he had been here before. However, not long after he entered the space crack, the space fragments in the crack increased by a lot. These fragments floated disorderly, like thousands of ice cubes floating on the surface of an ice river. It was very difficult for Xiaohua to escape. Don't worry. Huang Tong's voice emerged from Xiaohua's mind. She smiled and said, I have already begun to perceive the space laws of the 10,000 demon realm. I know. Xiaohua did not break away from the sadness of parting and replied, We have already left the 10,000 demon realm. From now on, I'm afraid we won't have the chance to come again. Understanding the space laws here, and being able to use the space escape technique, is already useless. While Xiaohua was talking, the fragments in the space suddenly exploded. These space fragments each had a color, and when put together, it was a 4-colored brilliance. The 4-colored brilliance carried the fierce power of space, like 4 space monsters pouncing on Xiaohua. Xiaohua was shocked and hurriedly wanted to use the space escape technique. However, at this time, black and white clouds gushed out from the space crack. As soon as these clouds came out, the space crack was like a torrential flood, suddenly exploding. Inside, there were endless 7-colored halos that swarmed out, completely confining the space around Xiaohua. The space laws of the 10,000 demon realm could no longer sense it. Bei Ming. Seeing that the 7-colored halos were so familiar, Xiaohua suddenly realized and exclaimed, This is Bei Ming's trap. Damn it. Xiaohua's heart was abnormally angry. He already understood that since Bei Ming could seal the little white dragon's memory, Naturally, he could also tamper with the little white dragon's memory. This space passage was a trap that he deliberately made in the little white dragon's memory. The purpose was to deceive the demons and humans who were interested in his whereabouts and lure them into the trap. This was also very easy to explain why the space power in the space fragment was so strong that even Xiao Hua, a human great saint with a 10th grade elemental energy, could not withstand it. The pitiful little white dragon had always thought that his memories were real, but he had never thought that his little bit of false memories would actually lead Xiao Hua into an irredeemable death situation. Damn Bei Ming! Xiao Hua cursed and felt somewhat helpless. This space change was the power of heaven and earth that Bei Ming triggered. How could Xiao Hua predict and resist it? The effect that Bei Ming wanted was to kill in one blow, whether it was a demon great saint or a human great ascension stage. Chapter 48:18. Xiao Hua's physical body would inevitably be torn apart if he did not put up any effective resistance against the incoming spatial power. Moreover, looking at the vastness of the spatial power, even a human great sage like Xiao Hua, who had surpassed the 9th level of origin power, would most likely die. At this critical moment, Xiao Hua's thoughts raced as he tried to think of a way to deal with it. But how could it be easy to find a way to resist the power of heaven and earth in such a short time? Seeing the spatial power crashing down like raging waves, Xiao Hua was so anxious that sweat appeared on his forehead. He had many tricks up his sleeve, but it was impossible for him to block this spatial power that was comparable to the power of heaven and earth. But in that instant, Xiao Hua's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly said, "Huang Tong, quickly hide in space." Huang Tong didn't answer at all. Her figure flashed, and she escaped from Xiao Hua's physical body and landed on Shenhua continent. Xiao Hua's body shone with golden light, and with a whoosh his golden body suddenly shrank. When the light faded away, a world-destroying mayfly that was a few feet in size appeared. Xiao Hua had actually used Qingqiu Mountain's transformation technique to turn into a mayfly. Boom! The moment the mayfly appeared, the spatial power came crashing down. Xiao Hua felt as if the entire world was spinning, and layers of spatial power were like giant hands that continuously tore at the mayfly's body. However, what made Xiao Hua happy was that the shape of the mayfly's body was very strange. Every time the spatial power came crashing down, the mayfly's body could narrowly avoid the most powerful spatial power, and only withstand the smallest amount of spatial power. In particular, the mayfly's body was incomparably smooth in the wave-like spatial power. It was true that Xiao Hua was unable to control his body within the spatial waves, but his body that was drifting along with the spatial waves had weakened the spatial power to a level that his golden body could withstand. Phew! Xiao Hua let out a long sigh, knowing that he had finally escaped from death again. Damn Bei Ming! He's really too sinister. Xiao Hua couldn't help but hate Bei Ming now that he was out of danger. I really trusted this Shang Huaming's ancestor too much and let my guard down. Thinking about the actions of the Rainbow Sea God Seashell, I can naturally infer Bei Ming's character. Unfortunately, because he is Shang Huaming's ancestor and also Xianwan's lover, this Xiao thinks that he is family. Unfortunately, in his eyes, the 10,000 demon realm and Dawn Rain continent are just foreign lands, and I am also a stranger. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua's heart suddenly froze. For some reason, he suddenly thought of Shang Huaming's previous sect masters. According to what Xiao Hua knew, Shang Huaming's ancestral hall didn't have any records of the sect masters' whereabouts. No one knew if they were dead or alive. Perhaps their disappearance was related to Bei Ming. Sigh. Xiao Hua sighed. All the warmth looks very beautiful, but this is all seen with the eyes. But when the hypocrisy of warmth was torn apart, what was revealed was perhaps the coldness and bloodiness of reality. Never give any person you don't know the details of the greatest luck, because what you are most afraid of is also the most likely to happen, because you already have this premonition in your heart. Namo Mithriya Buddha. Namo Mithriya Buddha chanted the name of Buddha in Xiao Hua's heart, seeming to understand Xiao Hua's feelings. The chaotic space lasted for a full hour before calming down. Xiao Hua already didn't know where he was pushed to by the power of space. However, before Xiao Hua could return to his human form, He suddenly felt a kind of fear from the bottom of his heart. Xiaohua was shocked. He immediately felt that the originally gray void seemed to be covered by a black shadow, and suddenly became pitch black. Space Beast. Xiaohua immediately thought of the beast that Phoenix Emissary No. 9 said was lying in ambush in the void black road. This is a void. Huang Tong's trembling voice sounded. The legendary space beast in the Xianyuan space? How could it appear here? Quick, Xiaohua. This void is the nemesis of the world-destroying ephemera. Shua. A black shadow appeared above Xiaohua's head. It seemed to be formless, but it also seemed to have a shape. However, it was impossible to see its shape clearly in the void. An inexplicable suction force was generated from this black shadow, causing the world-exterminating mayfly's body to distort as it was sucked into the black shadow. Shua. Xiaohua's figure twisted, and a golden light appeared from the surface of his body. The body of the world-destroying ephemera began to expand rapidly, but in a moment, a transcendence golden body of 1,000 feet in size appeared in front of the black shadow. The space beast, the void, which was attracted by the spatial tide, was not afraid of the aura emitted by Xiaohua's body at all. Shua. With a sound, a faint shadow appeared. This shadow was thousands of feet in size, and its entire body was an outline made of lines, like a huge dragonfly. Outside its thick and long body, there were 2 wings made of thousands of feet in length, flashing a spatial hurricane and attacking Xiaohua. Moreover, with a schwa sound, the space around Xiaohua had already shattered into countless fragments. The spatial cracks were mixed with the law of space, and they surged toward Xiaohua's golden body. Facing a spatial storm, Xiaohua might not be able to do anything, but facing a space beast, Xiaohua could handle it with ease. He stood in midair, not panicking in the slightest. He raised a hand and slapped his forehead. The delirium breaker eye opened, and a silver pillar of light rotated, making a rumbling sound as it landed on the top of the void's head. The top of the void's head was also an outline made of several lines, but on the sides of the head, there were many lines that were linked together to form an eye. When the silver light of the delirium breaker eye landed on the eye, it immediately emitted a strange light. This light was like mercury, filling up all the lattices of the eye, and the silver light in each lattice rotated along with the silver pillar of light. Gigi. The void let out a strange screeching sound, and the nearby space seemed to collapse again. However, at the same time the void collapsed, the void's wings retracted, and the entire huge body of lines shook a few times before falling into the void. As for the spatial shockwave that had attacked Xiaohua, it had disappeared without a trace. Huang Tong separated from Xiaohua's space, and looked at the fallen void in disbelief, and said in shock, "Xiaohua, what kind of divine ability is this?" "What divine ability?" Xiaohua said in a bad mood. "Turn your eyes and see if you're dizzy. If you don't, then divide your eyes into thousands of pieces, and turn them at the same time." As he spoke, Xiaohua raised his hand and was about to land, but at this moment, Taoist Witch's horrified voice sounded. "Not good. This poor Taoist soul consciousness has been destroyed. The human race of the 10,000 demon realm is in trouble." "How is that possible?" Thunderbolt Immortal shouted. "The great array that protects the human race is an innate divine restriction set up by us great saints. How could the 10,000 demon realm's great saints destroy it?" "Go." Xiaohua's face sank, and he released his divine sense to put the unconscious and defenseless space beast into the Shunhua continent's confinement. His body transformed again, and when the phoenix body was born, he spread his wings and waved his phoenix claws. He had just comprehended the spatial laws of the 10,000 demon realm, and could use the spatial escape technique, and a gray spatial passage appeared in the void. Xiaohua's body swayed, and he fell into it. Not long after, Xiaohua flew out of the void in the direction of Taoist Witch's soul consciousness, and when he saw everything in front of him clearly, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. The plains where Xiaohua had laid down the great formation earlier were now covered in red clouds. The red clouds were covering the entire mountain peak. The red clouds were even more bizarre than the foothills on the ground. Layers of dense clouds drifted away, and large snowflakes crazily fell from the sky. These snowflakes were completely different from ordinary snowflakes, and they were green in color, with strands of silver light flashing at the edges, and they were powerful. Outside the plane, the sun and the bright sun were right above, but when the golden sunlight shone on the snowflakes, it couldn't take away the coldness at all, and it made the snowflakes even colder. Within 1,000 miles under the snowflakes, the capital star array and Pleiades demon-devouring immortal array set up by the thunderbolt immortal and the other great saints had a corner broken, and where the snowflakes fell, the silver light wildly tore apart the flaws of the two great arrays. Although the Pleiades demon-devouring immortal array also had a counterattack, it was powerless in the face of the overwhelming snowflakes. With the great array broken, the great city under the great array was naturally exposed on the plain. Roar! Killed at sounds of fighting and roars of beasts could be heard from above the city. More than 100,000 enormous werewolves of various colors were wearing strange armors. Some of them were holding weapons, while others were waving their sharp claws. They had destroyed the city and were fighting against the human generals who were guarding the city. Inside the city, there were already werewolves that had broken through. Cries and screams could not be considered loud in the midst of the slaughter, but these childish cries and screams had already torn Xiaohua's heart apart, because he'd already noticed that a wolf that was over 100 m in size was waving its white-colored wolf claws and tearing a few young children in scholarly clothes into pieces. Moreover, within its bloody mouth, its ghastly white wolf teeth were stuffed with bits of flesh and shattered bones. Damn it! Xiaohua's eyes were red, and he was about to take out the Kunlun mirror, but at this moment, under the snowflakes, in the sky, the void burst with ice shards, and the Snow Wolf King's figure of more than 1,000 feet appeared. The Snow Wolf King's eyes were bloodshot, and he glanced at Xiaohua indifferently and asked, "Human great saint. Xiaohua. Which great saint are you? How dare you touch my human race?" Xiaohua replied very naturally, but he didn't intend to wait for the Snow Wolf King's answer. With a thought, the Kunlun mirror appeared in his hand. Chapter 48:19. Unfortunately, before he could activate the Kunlun mirror to reveal its brilliance, a deafening roar came from the layers of red clouds high up in the sky. Amidst the roar, the red clouds were shattered. Swoosh! A silver-white brilliance was born, and a power that could drown everything in the world was born. This brilliance illuminated the earth, stealing the brilliance of the sun and the boundless sun above his head. This might even imprison everything within a radius of 10,000 miles. In the silver light, a shuttle-shaped magic artifact of 1,000 feet in size appeared. As soon as this magic artifact appeared, the space around Xiaohua collapsed instantly. Xiaohua did not even have time to activate his magic power to deal with it. The magic artifact had already crushed the space and landed in front of Xiaohua's chest. Facing such a fierce aura from the shuttle-shaped magic artifact, Xiaohua, who had already reached the peak of the 10,000 demon realm, felt his heart tighten. He could not help but exclaim, "Immortal! Immortal artifact!" If there was something in this world that could injure or kill Xiaohua, it was afraid that it was only an immortal artifact. Seeing that the shuttle-shaped magic artifact was close to him, Xiaohua's soul flew out of his body. He hurriedly activated the thunder escape technique to escape. Unfortunately, before the lightning around his body could be produced, the silver brilliance in the space around him shone brightly again. Wisps of immortal spiritual energy mixed with ice were born, freezing the space around him again. Not to mention that there was no chance to escape. Even the void was blocked. Damn it! Xiaohua only had time to curse in his heart. He did not even have time to look at the cold expression of the Snow Wolf King in the distance. The shuttle-shaped magic artifact had already pierced his transcendence golden body. Boom! Under the immortal artifact, there was no chance of survival. The right side of Xiaohua's transcendence golden body was instantly smashed into pieces, and these pieces were twisted into powder under the immortal spiritual energy. Only less than 40% of the wreckage on the left side was like a broken leaf riddled with holes, drifting down unconsciously in the silver light. Ha ha ha! The great sage of the human race is only S.O. Seeing that Xiaohua had fallen into his trap, and was so easily killed by the immortal shuttle, the Snow Wolf King looked up to the sky and laughed. With this kind of strength you dare to show off in my 10,000 demon realm? These human descendants are just the flesh and blood of my wolf race. Men kill. Following the Snow Wolf King's command, the immortal aura on the immortal shuttle immediately converged, and the pressure that suppressed thousands of miles instantly disappeared. The wolves roared and laughed wildly as they once again pounced on the human descendants of the 10,000 demon realm. The immortal shuttle had killed Xiaohua and destroyed the nearby void. The Snow Wolf King, with the body of a great saint of the demon race, was naturally unable to control the immortal shuttle. After the immortal power of the immortal shuttle was extinguished, his figure flashed again, wanting to sweep across the sky and take the immortal shuttle. But at this moment, the space beneath the immortal shuttle collapsed again. Boom boom. Following the collapse, countless strands of heaven and earth yuan qi crazily swept in like a tsunami. Bzz bzz b. A series of strange whistling sounds rang out from the void. Then several strands of silver immortal qi appeared from the void and slowly approached the immortal shuttle. Not good. Although the immortal qi was very weak and did not even come close to the immortal shuttle, the Snow Wolf King could already feel that the immortal shuttle, which was originally heavy as a mountain, was already somewhat uncontrollable. How could she not know that there was an Oriole hiding in the void? The Snow Wolf King tried to use a secret technique to control the immortal shuttle, and said angrily, "Divine Peacock Mother? Great Eagle King? Great Ape King? Humph, no matter who you are, when you dare to ruin this saint's plans, don't blame this saint for tearing apart all pretenses." Ayu. Just as the Snow Wolf King roared, a several hundred feet large nascent soul wearing star armor appeared from the void. Wasn't this Xiaohua, the scattered nascent soul that was already at the 9 tribulation stage? How is this possible? The Snow Wolf King was shocked. She hurriedly urged the immortal shuttle to kill Xiaohua's nascent soul again while shouting, "How can your primordial spirit survive under an immortal weapon? I clearly saw that your primordial spirit did not escape from the wreckage." The Snow Wolf King's shock did not fade away. Boom boom boom. The void near the Snow Wolf King shook again, and more than 100 quasi-9th tribulation scattered nascent souls appeared. These scattered nascent souls were in the capital star formation, trapping the Snow Wolf King in the center. Damn it! The Snow Wolf King cursed under his breath, and a silver light shone from his body. The immortal shuttle in the void also produced obscure fluctuations. Under the Snow Wolf King's urging, the immortal shuttle was like a viper in spring, waking up from hibernation, raising its head and revealing its ferocious fangs. Seeing that the immortal shuttle was under his control, the Snow Wolf King secretly rejoiced. At this time, the sound of thunder was heard again. Boom boom boom. The Snow Wolf King was slightly startled. He looked up and saw that behind Xiaohua's scattered nascent souls, the thunderbolt immortal flew out from the void. He raised his hand and the Kunlun mirror flew over from the distance. Puff! The thunderbolt immortal spat out a breath of thunder. Boom boom. The Kunlun mirror shot out a beam of light, and a group of Fortune Gate disciples in armor flew out in an orderly manner. Disciples? The thunderbolt immortal's gaze swept over the Snow Wolf King like an icicle, and then swept over the violent wolf tribe below him, and ordered, "Kill the wolf tribe, no one is allowed to escape." Thunder. Thunder Spirit Great Sage Thunderbolt? The Snow Wolf King saw the lightning around the thunderbolt immortal and immediately understood. He said anxiously, "You dare to kill my wolf tribe, this saint will not let you go. You killed my human tribe's descendant. I'm already giving your 1,000 demon realm face by not killing your entire wolf tribe." Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul had already been enraged by the great sage Minghua. Now that he saw the human tribe's descendant was injured and his body was mostly destroyed by the Snow Wolf King, he said coldly, "This old man doesn't care who you are, you will die today." After saying that, the hundreds of scattered nascent souls formed hand seals at the same time, and the whole world was imprisoned by thunder and lightning. Layers of divine thunder condensed and surged towards the Snow Wolf King. Umph! The Snow Wolf King felt the ferocity of the thunder, and was naturally shocked. However, she activated the immortal shuttle, and saw the immortal shuttle vibrate, and the nearby void cracked. A powerful immortal pressure was produced, and the thunder couldn't get close at all. You're just using a secret technique to activate the immortal tool. Do you really think you can use the immortal tool? Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul sneered. His hands rubbed again, and the fury of thunder was displayed. The sound of thunder was heard from his hands, and a faint immortal executioner stage appeared in mid-air. Seeing that the immortal executioner stage was beginning to condense, the Snow Wolf King had a bad feeling in his heart. Go! The scattered nascent soul shouted, and the immortal executioner stage fell and covered the immortal shuttle. Kill! The Snow Wolf King gritted his teeth, and the immortal shuttle sped up again. Unfortunately, this time was different from the last time. Although the immortal executioner stage couldn't knock down the immortal shuttle, the immortal spiritual energy on the immortal executioner stage could also compete with the immortal spiritual energy of the immortal shuttle. No matter how the Snow Wolf King urged, he couldn't make the immortal shuttle move an inch. The power of the immortal executioner stage exceeded the Snow Wolf King's expectations. The Snow Wolf King whispered, "Not good." Then the snowflakes and ice shards around him exploded, and the power of countless stars and moons wanted to tear the void and penetrate. The Snow Wolf King set up an ambush to kill Xiaohua, and Xiaohua was caught unprepared. Now that Xiaohua killed the Snow Wolf King, how could he let her escape? The thunder raged like a swarm of bees, and the Snow Wolf King didn't even have time to use any magical power. The thunder annihilated everything. The Snow Wolf King's demon body, like Xiaohua's transcendence golden body, instantly turned into smoke and dust. Even the primordial spirit inside his body swayed and gradually disappeared in the thunder. Seeing that the Snow Wolf King's body and soul were about to be destroyed, Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul breathed a sigh of relief and was about to urge his divine sense to check the situation on the ground below. But right at this moment, the immortal shuttle, which was originally controlled by Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul, suddenly shone with silver light, and a distance that even a quasi-nine tribulation scattered nascent soul couldn't resist appeared on the immortal shuttle. Boom! With a loud sound, the immortal shuttle shook slightly, and immediately shattered the sound of thunder urged by Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul. Seeing the immortal executioner stage turn into fragments, Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul turned his head to look at the center of the thunder in disbelief. At this time, in the center of the thunder, a silver dot flashed like a seed, and the Snow Wolf King's originally extremely dim primordial spirit also inflated like a balloon, and the primordial spirit of the Wolf Clan turned into a human form in the silver light. A terrifying immortal spiritual pressure, more ferocious than the power of thunder, was emitted from the human form, and instantly shrouded the space of tens of thousands of li. Not only was Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul suppressed by this spiritual pressure, even the Wolf Clan, Human Clan, and Fortune Gate disciples on the ground were powerless to fly, and fell to the ground one after another. Not to mention the Spirit Clan on the ground. Each of them trembled, unable to maintain their spiritual bodies, and all of them transformed into their true bodies. The Wrath of Thunder of Punishment Palace? The Human Clan's great sage Xiaohua? How do you know the immortal world's immortal techniques? The immortal figure's voice seemed to come from the depths of his soul, penetrating the nascent soul's ears and falling on the scattered nascent soul's body. However, this immortal figure seemed to be too lazy to ask Xiaohua about the Wrath of Thunder, and then flew into a rage. You really deserve to die. You just arrived in the 10,000 demon realm, and you already have this envoy's big matter. Now that you've killed the Snow Wolf King, you've turned this envoy's tens of thousands of years of hard work into nothing. If this envoy doesn't destroy your soul, how can this envoy's anger be quenched? As he spoke, the immortal figure raised his hand and pointed at the immortal shuttle, and the immortal shuttle instantly exploded, turning into hundreds of fragments. Although these fragments were smaller in size, they were several hundred times faster than before, and their power was also several times greater. In the blink of an eye, the immortal shuttle had already landed in front of Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul. Wherever the immortal shuttle passed, the void collapsed, and Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul's spiritual body melted like a piece of snow in a fire. Death had never been so close to Xiaohua before. At this critical moment, lightning flares suddenly erupted from the collapsed void in the distance. Then, A black and white light curtain spread out and blasted the silvery silhouette of the immortal body away. In the light curtain, a beam of spirit-slaying yuan light, which was split into two colors, yin and yang, rushed over ferociously. Wherever the yin and yang light passed, everything was destroyed. Whether it was the collapsed space or the silvery light that carried the spiritual pressure of the immortal body, nothing could stop it. Chapter 48:20. Pooh. With a soft sound, the death spirit yuan light landed on top of the human figure's head. Unfortunately, a leopard-like silver light appeared on the immortal body's human form and blocked the spirit-slaying yuan light. Ah, death. Death spirit yuan light? How can the death spirit yuan light exist in the 10,000 demon realm? The human figure was shocked and shouted in disbelief. But seeing the death spirit yuan light being blocked, he sneered. What a pity. So what if it's just an occasional death spirit yuan light? How can the mortal world's death spirit yuan light destroy my immortal? Pooh. Without waiting for the human figure to finish speaking, the death spirit yuan light trembled and immediately pierced the leopard-like silver light, piercing deep into the human figure. How? How is this possible? The human figure screamed one last time. His voice became weaker and weaker as the death spirit yuan light pierced in. Also, after the death spirit yuan light pierced in, the immortal shuttle that had touched the hundreds of scattered souls immediately disappeared. When it reappeared, it was still a complete immortal shuttle that stopped in the center of the scattered souls. Xiao Hua's scattered souls were free and didn't hesitate anymore. His body flashed and immediately disappeared from the spot, as if he had merged with space. At this time, after the scattered souls, the death spirit yuan light rose, and the thunder immortal turned into a human-shaped lightning. The sword gourd flashed with a black and white light. So what if you have an immortal body? Aren't you still I's defeated opponent? The thunder immortal sneered. The death spirit yuan light intersected. Pooh. The human figure's head fell from the silver light, as if the real head was killed by the death spirit yuan light. Jie. Seeing the human figure being destroyed, Huang Tong broke through the air. He opened his mouth and the leopard-like silver light was immediately swallowed by him. Boom boom boom. Huang Tong's demon body let out a roar. Rays of silver light leaked out from his body, and his demon body uncontrollably expanded. Countless stars and moons appeared in the void nearby. On top of Huang Tong's head, a fist-sized black hole gradually appeared. Damn it! Huang Tong felt an irresistible repulsive force. She cursed under her breath. She looked at the other silvery shadows that were gradually collapsing. Her body flashed, and she hid in the Shenhua continent. Haha! As soon as Huang Tong left, the celestial being immediately flew in and laughed. Great! I haven't been able to find a suitable primordial spirit to refine for my 10,000 extinguishing celestial dipper. This is just right. As he spoke, the heavenly being waved his hand, and the 10,000 extinguishing heavenly dipper flew out and sucked in the remaining human figures. Fellow Taoist, don't worry. Xiao Hua's scattered nascent soul's voice came from an unknown place and said, also more than 100 immortal body primordial spirits flew out. This item is useful to us. The celestial being was a bit stingy, but when he saw the many dispirited scattered nascent souls, he said, all right, let's make a deal. Just a little bit. As he spoke, the 10,000 extinguishing celestial dipper trembled, and a light figure smaller than a mosquito flew out. Damn it! Feng Wu flew out at this moment and cursed. Fellow Taoist Xiao wants to use it, yet you're still so stingy? The celestial being was a bit embarrassed, so he stiffened his neck and said, who said that? This is for the other scattered nascent souls. Sure enough, in a moment, more than 100 similar light figures flew out, and after they fell into the scattered nascent souls, another one flew out. When these silver light figures fell into the scattered nascent souls' bodies, all of them seemed to have been brushed by the silver light, and the immortal qi around them immediately became 100 times denser. I'll have to trouble Phoenix Sage to take out some flesh. Although Xiao Hua's scattered nascent soul didn't show its figure, the powerful immortal qi had already exposed its location. Following Xiao Hua's command, Feng Wu let out a clear cry and spat out a mouthful of essence blood. When this essence blood fell into Xiao Hua's body, There was a flash of silver light, and the essence blood immediately condensed into a human figure. Then thousands of strands of heaven and earth origin energy rushed in, and Xiaohua's golden body slowly straightened out from the essence blood, quickly repairing itself. That when the 1,000 feet golden body was formed, Xiaohua opened his eyes, opened his mouth, and a mouthful of true qi mixed with silver fell, covering the immortal shuttle. With a gentle suction, the immortal shuttle fell into his lower dantian. Poof! Xiaohua slapped his head, and a column of true qi came out, and more than 100 flashing silver scattered nascent souls were absorbed into his body. Finally, he breathed a sigh of relief and looked at Fengwu. Fellow Taoist, it was so dangerous today. The immortal body was destroyed, the immortal shuttle was taken, and the space within 10,000 miles gradually recovered. Tai Yang and Hao Yang also poked their heads out. Fengwu looked around, and then looked at the Thunder Immortal who had taken the sword gourd, and sighed. It was more than dangerous, it was simply on the verge of death. We were too careless, and forgot that the laws of heaven and earth in the 10,000 demon realm are different from the 3 continents. Immortals can exist without the help of a physical body. The key is, Xiaohua smiled bitterly, we didn't expect that there would be immortals in human form in the 10,000 demon realm where there are no humans. Quick, look at the soul of the great sage of the wolf clan. Who is this immortal body? The Thunder Immortal put away the sword gourd, and flew closer while shouting. Then he stretched out his hand and said to the Celestial, we'll share fortune and misfortune together. If we're brothers, we'll split half. Big brother, I'm refining the 10,000 extinguishing heaven dipper, okay? I'm not taking it all for myself. The Celestial was very helpless, and then with a wave of his hand, several silver balls of light flew out. Forget it, one for each of you, don't say any more. Although there were only Xiaohua and a few others in the air, when the balls of light appeared, they instantly disappeared. Taoist Witch and the others also seemed to be eyeing covetously. Xiaohua looked at the Thunder Immortal who swallowed the silver balls, and shook his head. When that immortal body took over the great sage of the wolf clan's primordial spirit, he had already destroyed all of his memories. He couldn't have left any clues for us. Then we'll be in trouble. Fengwu frowns and says, this human immortal body knows that your name is Xiaohua. Moreover, if nothing unexpected happens, he must have a special secret technique that is connected to the upper realm. His main body might even know your name. When you ascend to the immortal world in the future, you'll be in big trouble. Xiaohua shrugged helplessly, and looked at the Fortune Gate's disciples killing the wolf clan's primordial spirit one by one, and smiled bitterly. Then what can I do? Since I've already done it, then let's do it. When I reach the immortal world, I'll be careful. Immortal artifact is too powerful. The Thunder Immortal was still afraid. We can't block it at all. No. The Celestial shook his head. It's not that we can't block it, it's that we fell into a trap and had no chance of blocking it. Moreover, fellow Taoist, you don't have to belittle yourself. The spirit-punishing vital light is now able to kill immortals. No. The Thunder Immortal shook his head. The spirit-punishing vital light has just been refined, like the yin-yang illustration, and it hasn't reached major completion. If it was a real immortal, the spirit-punishing vital light wouldn't be able to break through their immortal body. The one that was killed just now was merely an immortal body, and in the end, it's just a primordial spirit. Against this kind of primordial spirit, the spirit-punishing vital light is the most powerful weapon in the world. No matter. Xiaohua sneered. When I successfully refine the 5 elements heaven staff, I'll smash the immortal body into smithereens, then use the spirit-punishing vital light to kill it. Good. Fengwu clapped his hands. This sage looks forward to seeing fellow Taoist Xiao shake the immortal world in the future. Damn it, there's still I. The Thunder Immortal hurriedly shouted. I'm the second master of the Fortune Gate. Fellow Taoists, Xiaohua said, sitting cross-legged in the air, and pointed at the array on the ground. This array has been broken by the immortal shuttle, so it can't be used anymore. Moreover, this place has been exposed. Although we can kill all the wolf tribe members, the whereabouts of the wolf tribe's great sage must be known by the other wolf tribe members. We need to find another place. That's easy. Feng Wu smiled. Fellow Taoist, you can cultivate here. We'll look around. Now that we can use the space escape technique, it's convenient for us to come and go. Xiaohua cupped his hands. Fellow Taoists, I'll have to trouble you. Feng Wu and the others tore through the void and left. Xiaohua narrowed his eyes and looked at the ground. The Snow Wolf King had brought the elites of the wolf tribe, but these elites were nothing but paper in front of the Fortune Gates disciples. These Fortune Gates disciples carried Xiaohua's anger and didn't leave any leeway, killing the wolf tribe members on the spot. Normally, Xiaohua would release the Netherworld Origin Force, and whether it was the demonic beasts or humans, they would be sucked into the inside of the space. But today he was really angry. He only collected the souls of the Fortune Gates disciples, and let the souls of the other wolf tribe members enter the cycle of reincarnation as they wished. When the 3 moons rose into the sky, the werewolves around the city were all killed. A group of human cultivators flew around in a hurry. They were either repairing the city or helping the scholar or the arhat to clean up the mess. Forget it. Xiaohua sighed. Fellow Taoists, this place has been discovered by the 10,000 demon world. Clean it up. I'll take you to another place. Many thanks, Taoist Xiao. When everyone heard this, they didn't dare to delay and hurriedly packed up. When dawn came, Confucian cultivators and Buddhist sect experts flew up and respectfully greeted Xiaohua. Xiaohua's gaze swept across these human cultivators, and he said kindly, "This old man has already said before, the 10,000 demon world is not like the 3 mainlands. It's more dangerous than the 1,000 demon sacred realm. Previously, it was only the wolf tribe that came. If the ape tribe, eagle tribe, and others discover the secret of this place, I'm afraid this old man won't be able to come again." When he spoke up to hear, Xiaohua changed the topic and said, "Of course, the situation this time is slightly special. The great sage of the wolf clan has come in person. Even I suffered a loss at her hands, let alone all of you. This old man has already killed the wolf tribe's great sage, and ordered the Fortune Gates disciples to kill the invading wolf tribe members. Presumably, the news of this place won't be easily leaked. Wait for this old man to move you all to another place. It should be able to delay for a while, and everything after that will depend on you all." Chapter 48:21. Thank you, Spiritual Master Xiao. The human cultivators were all grateful and said in unison, "Since we bear the heavy responsibility of continuing the human race's bloodline, we have already made some preparations. Today's matter can be considered as having been expected. In the future, we will be more careful and cultivate harder." "Good." Xiaohua nodded. "You can wait, there is no need to wait here. This old man is also injured. When I recover, the other fellow cultivators will help me find a suitable place, and this old man will take you all there." In the 3 continents, thousands of people had thousands of faces, tens of thousands of hearts. Xiaohua's actions fell into the eyes of these people, and it was inevitable that they would have other thoughts. But here they truly understood Xiaohua's heart and benevolence. They all bowed and said curiously, "Yes, this junior will leave. 10 days later, the celestial being was the first to return. Looking at his smug expression, he must have found a suitable place." Subsequently, Feng Wu, Lightning Taoist, and the others also turned around. After a brief discussion, they felt that these places were not bad. Hence, Xiaohua asked his avatars to lead a group of Fortune Gates disciples to build big cities in these places, and set up grand formations. He even set up transmission arrays between these cities. Not to mention Xiaohua taking advantage of his quiet cultivation, and Huang Tong refining the human form of the immortal body and the leopard-shaped silver light, taking the opportunity to build the famous 4 big cities of the 10,000 demon realm for the survival of the human race in the future. At the edge of the Huatian realm, the little white dragon that fell to the ground was unconscious for more than 3 days before slowly waking up. He looked at the mountain peak he crashed into with some surprise, then looked around for a moment, and his eyes showed confusion. After staring at the void in the middle of the mountain peak for a stick of incense, he recalled something and patted his dragon head that was as painful as being hit by an axe, and said curiously, "Damn it, what happened?" Big Brother has already gone to the Dawn Rain continent. Why did I faint from a headache? Could it be? Could it be that when the old ancestor unlocked the seal, he left something behind? This. What did Big Brother say before he left? Why can't I remember at all? Thinking about it, the little white dragon flew up from the ground, identified the direction, and headed towards the Gale Abyss. The little white dragon flew back to the Gale Abyss, but the entire Gale Abyss was not different. However, what puzzled little white dragon was that Huyu did not come to welcome him. The one who came forward was actually Jade Wave. Seeing this, little white dragon was furious. Although he did not get angry in front of the other Python clan members, when he returned to the deep pool, he scolded without saying a word. Jade Wave, what are you doing? This is not the Thousand Demons' sacred realm, nor is it the Shell Clan's demon realm. If you want to fight for power, feel free to return to the Thousand Demons' sacred realm. Don't make me unhappy here. Jade Wave wasn't angry either. She said in a low voice, Darling Xiao, please follow this concubine. What? Little White Dragon was as confused as a monk. But when he saw the unconscious Xingyu, he was once again shocked. Beside him, Jade Wave said in a low voice, When I saw that little sister Xingyu had suddenly fainted, I was afraid that there might be a change in Gale Abyss, so I used little sister Xingyu's order to handle the affairs of Gale Abyss for the past few days. Xiaolang, please don't blame me. Don't blame me. Little White Dragon shyly used his dragon claw to transform into a large hand. He pinched Jade Wave and said, Your husband can't thank you enough. Jade Wave said, Darling Xiao, it's good that you understand my heart. Go ahead. Your husband will see what's wrong with Xingyu. Little White Dragon nodded. He patted Jade Wave and sent her away. However, when Little White Dragon released his primordial thought for a moment, he didn't see anything unusual with Xingyu. Just as he was frowning, Xingyu actually groaned and woke up on her own. Xingyu. Little White Dragon was overjoyed. He hurriedly asked, What happened to you? Why did you suddenly faint? Xingyu was also surprised. She looked around and shook her head slightly. I don't know what happened either. Maybe it's because I haven't fully recovered from my previous injuries? That should be the case. Little White Dragon nodded. He took out a medicinal pill from the dragon shell and handed it to Xingyu. This is a medicinal pill refined by my big brother. Take it and cultivate well. Yes. Xingyu took the medicinal pill. She didn't consume it immediately. Instead, she asked, The great sage of the human clan has left, right? Yes. Little White Dragon looked sad. They've already entered the spatial passage. I think they've arrived at the Dawn Rain continent by now. Didn't Xiaohua say anything to you? Xingyu asked again. Little White Dragon was having a headache. How could he think of what Xiaohua said? He shook his head and said, Big Brother and the others just entered the spatial passage. I had a splitting headache and also fainted. I just woke up. I don't think Big Brother said anything to me. He only told me to cultivate well and strive to become a great sage of the Dragon Clan as soon as possible. Xingyu smiled and nodded. Yes, the great sage of the human clan is so kind to you. You should cultivate well and not let him down. I definitely will. Little White Dragon said. His dragon tail wrapped around Xingyu again. He whispered, Are you really okay? Xingyu's python body shook. She pushed Little White Dragon's tail away and shook her head. I also have a splitting headache. My whole body is sore. I can't deal with you. You'd better go find Big Sister Jade Wave. You should rest more. Seeing that Xingyu was unwilling, Little White Dragon did not force her. He said a few more words and urged his body to leave. Xingyu looked at Little White Dragon's dragon body leaving. Her eyes were full of doubts. Soon, half a year passed. There were no changes in the Swift Wind Abyss. It was just as Little White Dragon had thought. Because the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King, two great sages of the Demon Clan, had fallen here. Although the Demon Clan of the 10,000 Demon Realm was shocked by these two news, no Demon Clan dared to come to the Swift Wind Abyss. Of course, the territories of the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King were also constantly encroached by other Demon Clans. Both the Ape Clan and the Lion Clan were exhausted, and did not have the spare energy to come to the swift wind abyss to cause trouble. Of course, little white dragon did not dare to let down his guard. He placed his beloved concubine and descendants in the soul formation. If there was any trouble, he would be ready to react at any time. Just as little white dragon felt that he was about to start a new life, a huge spatial crack suddenly tore open in the sky above the swift wind abyss. Xiaohua and Huang Tong flew out of the spatial crack. At this time, the deep pool of the swift wind abyss was surging with huge waves. Little white dragon was playing with a Shell clan member when he saw a familiar aura falling from the sky. Little white dragon exclaimed. He kicked the Shell clan member into the bottom of the pool and rushed into the sky. Seeing Xiaohua frowning in the sky, little white dragon was overjoyed. Big brother, you're back? Little brother, congratulations on your success in saving the world. Bullshit. Huang Tong said coldly. We didn't even leave the 10,000 demon realm. Huh? Little white dragon was shocked. He cried out in disbelief. That's impossible. I saw you enter the spatial passage with my own eyes. After we entered the spatial passage, what did you see? Did you feel anything strange? Xiaohua asked worriedly. Little white dragon told him what he saw and said. Little brother was unconscious for 3 days before returning to the swift wind abyss. Damned Minghua, damned rainbow sea godshell. Xiaohua gritted his teeth. What I thought was right. Little white dragon was the same as this Xiao. He had also narrowly walked on the edge of death. Since Minghua used little white dragon's memory as bait to trick me, how could he let little white dragon live? When we stepped into the spatial passage, the seal that Minghua left in little white dragon's mind was also activated. Fortunately, before little white dragon came to the 10,000 demon realm, the rainbow sea god shell had already unlocked most of the seals in little white dragon's mind. Otherwise, little white dragon would not have escaped this disaster. Big brother. Little white dragon was stunned and said anxiously, what is going on? That spatial passage is fake. It was a trap that Minghua made in the void. Xiaohua explained. In order to guard against you and prevent you from leaking the information, Minghua did something in your mind. If you leaked this spatial passage, on one hand, this spatial passage would kill the demon clan that was looking for it, and on the other hand, it would also kill you. Fortunately, the rainbow sea god shell had already unlocked most of the memories in your mind, so you were not killed by Minghua. Oh, speaking of this seal, it must be the one that the rainbow sea god shell told me before, the seal that I had no confidence in. It was also because of this seal that the rainbow sea god shell's promise to me was extinguished. Moreover, until the end, the rainbow sea god shell still hid it from me. This seal that the rainbow sea god shell did not understand the most. She did not unlock it. So that's it. Little white dragon finally understood. He thought for a moment and secretly shook his head. Looking at his sad appearance, he obviously knew that Xiaohua was right. That great Saint Minghua also had such a character. Ha! At this moment in the deep pool, Shuiyu flew out of the water and asked respectfully, Big brother, why didn't you leave? Hee, Xiaohua laughed. Something went wrong with the spatial passage, so I had to come back. Io, then what should we do? Shuiyu was also very anxious. No matter. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, I'm going to go to the Huatian realm personally to find great Saint Minghua and ask him about the spatial passage. Today, I'm here to ask Little White for that long bay. Long bay? What long bay? The little white dragon asked in confusion. Xiaohua said curiously, It's the long bay that I gave you before I left. As he spoke, Xiaohua whispered a few words. I remember now. Little white dragon hurriedly took out a long bay from the dragon scale and handed it to Xiaohua. My mind was in a mess and I forgot about it. Chapter 48:22. Okay. Xiaohua kept the dragon shell and said, Big brother is going to find great sage Minghua. There might be a fierce battle, so you don't have to go. Big brother. Without waiting for little white dragon to speak, Huyu hurriedly said, Little white and I will accompany big brother. After all, we are more familiar with the situation in the 10,000 demon realm. If this matter can be resolved peacefully, won't our Gale Abyss be able to have a connection with great sage Ming Hua of the Huatian realm? In the future, when Big Brother is not here, can we ask great sage Ming Hua to take care of our Gale Abyss? Xiao Hua looked at Little White Dragon and then looked at Hu Yu, as if he was in a difficult position. He then asked, Little White, what do you think? Of course. Little White Dragon laughed. To be able to accompany Big Brother to the Huatian realm is exactly what I want. However, Hu Yu, your strength is not enough, so it's better not to go. With Big Brother here, where can't I go in the 10,000 demon realm? Hu Yu rolled her eyes at Little White Dragon and laughed. Xiao Hua whispered a few words and discussed with Huang Tong. Since you want to go, then let's go together. There's no need to rush this time. Little White, you take Hu Yu and we will go to the Huatian realm. Little White Dragon did not know why Hu Yu wanted to go to the Huatian realm, but seeing that she was so concerned about Xiao Hua's matter, he smiled and was about to take her to the sky. Unexpectedly, Hu Yu said, Big Brother, I heard that the war in the Huatian realm is urgent. If you are looking for Great Sage Ming Hua, why don't you come as soon as possible? If Great Sage Ming Hua and Demon King Mo Sa fight, won't Big Brother's matter affect Demon King Mo Sa? Xiao Hua looked at Hu Yu and nodded. You are right. In that case, please take Great Sage Huang Tong. I will take Little White Dragon and rush over as soon as possible. Okay. Huang Tong spread her wings and reached out her phoenix claws to grab Hu Yu. Her figure whistled and immediately rushed into the sky. When Xiao Hua saw Huang Tong leave, he waved his hand and brought Little White Dragon with him. However, after flying for a while, Xiao Hua whispered, Little White, Big Brother wants to ask you. Did you encounter anything unusual along the way back from the Huatian Realm's mountain? The Little White Dragon stared blankly for a moment before shaking its head in confusion. No, I didn't encounter anything unusual. Supreme Saint Ming Hua's clone did not appear? Xiao Hua asked again. No, Little White Dragon shook his head. I didn't think too much about it, so I didn't notice. However, we didn't encounter anything unusual along the way. What about Gale Abyss? Nothing out of the ordinary recently? Xiao Hua was even more puzzled because he knew in his heart that Ming Hua's main body was in his Long Bay. The Ming Hua that had appeared in the Huatian realm now was definitely Ming Hua's clone. Since Ming Hua's restriction in the spatial passageway had been activated and the restriction in the Little White Dragon's mind had been activated, it was impossible for Ming Hua's clone not to know. No, Little White Dragon shook his head like a rattledrum. He didn't know about the restriction before, but now that he knew, he naturally understood what Xiao Hua was asking. He said, Indeed there isn't. Not only did Great Sage Ming Hua's clone not come, but even the clones of the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King didn't appear. It would be strange if the clones of the Great Ape King and the Rainbow Lion King dared to appear. Xiao Hua snorted coldly and looked forward again. He opened his mouth and wanted to ask something, but before he could say anything, he hesitated and swallowed his words. His figure flashed and his speed increased a lot. In a short while he had caught up with Huang Tong. Before Xiao Hua came to Gale Abyss, he had already been to the spatial trap near the Huatian realm. The space crack still existed, and it was obvious that it had always been there, but the enchantment inside had completely disappeared. Moreover, the space crack also had an end, and the end was still in the 10,000 demon realm. It had nothing to do with the space barrier of the 10,000 demon realm. Therefore, when he came to the Huatian realm this time, he naturally didn't have to go there. Huang Tong went in another direction under the guidance of Hu Yu. Xiao Hua caught up with Huang Tong. After flying for a while, he raised his voice again. Fellow cultivator, flying like this is still too slow. I'm afraid it will take more than 10 days to reach the Huatian realm. Didn't Hu Yu say that the Huatian realm is in a state of war right now? It's best if there are no changes. Haha, I understand. Huang Tong smiled slightly. One of her phoenix claws held on to Hu Yu while the other waved. Runes flowed and a spatial crack appeared. Huang Tong rushed into the crack without turning back. Without waiting for the spatial crack to disappear, Xiao Hua also rushed in with Little White Dragon. When Little White Dragon's eyes flashed, black and white light overflowed like a kaleidoscope. His eyes instantly lit up. During class, Just as his eyes lit up, Xiaohua snorted coldly again. At the same time, a drum-like voice sounded in the void. Which demon dares to ruin this king's plans? However, before Little White Dragon could hear clearly, his eyes lit up. Xiaohua's grip on Little White Dragon loosened. Little White Dragon knew that they had arrived at the Hua Tian realm. Boom boom boom. Without waiting for Little White Dragon to look down, a series of roars came from the ground. The strangest thing was that among the roars, there were also goo goo goo. Sounds that sounded like the usual croaking of frogs in the lotus pond in the Xiaoyu continent. Squeak 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 squeak. Accompanied by the croaking of frogs, there were also the sounds of crickets chirping. If not for the bright sunlight in front of Little White Dragon's eyes, Little White Dragon almost suspected that it was already night time. When Little White Dragon looked towards the direction of the strange sound, he was stunned. Then, ha 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 ha. Little White Dragon actually lay down in midair. A pair of dragon claws hugged his chest as if he was holding his stomach, and he let out an earth-shattering laugh. Not to mention Little White Dragon, even Xiaohua and Huang Tong, when they saw the situation on the ground with their divine senses, couldn't help but laugh. Below everyone, there were groups of toads all over the mountains and plains. These toads were the demon spirits of the 10,000 demon realm. Each of them was hundreds of feet tall, and even hundreds of feet tall. However, looking from the sky, they were not much different from ordinary toads in a pond. There were patches of dark green mixed with the occasional white belly, as if they were going to cover the entire ground. It was a spectacular sight. Of course, just the toads alone wouldn't make Little White Dragon laugh so wildly. Right in front of the toad army, there were clumps of yellow demon spirits that looked like grasshoppers. Similarly, they surged over from the other side of the earth. It was the autumn harvest season, and in the rice fields, how could the sh-sh-sh-sh-sh-sh sound not make people feel like they were going to the countryside? Xiaohua and the others arrived. On the ground, the two armies of demon spirits that had already begun to fight did not notice them. However, Little White Dragon's laughter was really loud, and the momentum of the dragon's aura was even more obvious. Before Little White Dragon could fly into the sky, there were already dozens of toads that were hundreds of feet tall. They stepped on the demon clouds and rushed into the sky. Where are you, demon spirits? How dare you break into my Songyuan army? The toad in front was wearing an inexplicable armor. The outer layer of its skin was green with traces of gold. Before it could fly into the sky, it immediately opened its mouth and shouted. Its voice was louder than the beating of a drum. Layers of ripples were created along with the voice, like ripples of water, rippling in front of Xiaohua and the others. Little White Dragon sneered. Its huge dragon body suddenly flipped over, and opened its mouth. Roar! A dragon's roar broke the sound waves in an instant. Moreover, a hurricane blew up and made the toad's bulging belly ripple. Damn it! Since the toad could command an army, its divine power was naturally not comparable to Little White Dragon's. Seeing Little White Dragon's aura so strong, it felt fear from the bottom of its heart. The toad couldn't help but curse in a low voice. Its mouth made a few goo-goo sounds, and the power of the stars and moon fell from the sky. Its snow-white belly instantly swelled up. Forget it. Xiaohua withdrew the smile on his face and said, Your family's demon king Masa will be here soon. What are you doing here? Xiaohua raised his hand and pointed. Instantly, the power of the stars and moon around the toad disappeared. The toad's bulging belly rapidly shrank. Where are you from? The toad turned pale with fright and asked anxiously. Could it be that Minghua found a helper? Damn thing. Shuiyu said angrily. This is the human race's great sage Xiaohua. That's the phoenix race's great sage Huang Tong. The toad's eyes widened. Unfortunately, before it could say anything, its eyes rolled back and it fainted. It fell straight from the sky. The human race's great sage Xiaohua killed the great ape king and the rainbow lion king in one day. His ferocious reputation was too resounding. This toad general, whose strength was comparable to a 7th level essence power, actually fainted from fright when it heard Xiaohua's name. When this toad general fell from the sky, the other toad generals didn't pay any attention to it. They all stomped on the ground and frantically fled in all directions. It was as if they would be killed by the soul-slaying vital light, if they were even a moment slower. Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he rubbed his nose. He raised his hand and caught the fainted toad general. He said, "Damn it, if this toad falls to its death, this old man's reputation will be ruined. Whoever mentions it, won't they say that this old man bullied the weak and scared this toad to death?" However, when Xiaohua threw the toad general to the ground, Gua, the toad flipped over and demonic clouds rose around it. Its body crashed into the ground and disappeared. Is this still a toad? How can it be so cunning? Little White Dragon was dumbstruck again. He really couldn't figure out whether this toad general had fainted just now, or fainted? More than 10 toad generals deserted in the face of battle. It was like more than 10 stones falling into a pool of water. The ripples caused by the water ripples caused the entire toad army to begin to disperse. Cast a monthly vote, a recommendation vote, a collection, a tip, and thank all forms of support. Chapter 48-23. Seeing the toad army inexplicably retreating, a group of grasshoppers either bounced their legs or fluttered their wings. They waved their forelegs that were many times longer than ordinary grasshoppers, and began to chase the toads in all directions. At this moment, an earth-shattering croak of a frog resounded in the distant sky. Croak. Under the sun, a shadow the size of a dozen acres appeared. The shadow was heavier than the clouds, and it tore the void apart. Then in the shadow, a golden light flashed, and a toad the size of 1,000 feet jumped out from the void. Damn it! Xiaohua looks at the golden stripes on the huge body of the toad, which looks like a gorgeous coat. He can't help but bitterly smile. People often say that a toad wants to eat swan meat. Wishful thinking. Now this Xiao has no choice but to believe that toads can sometimes eat swan meat. It's just that this toad is wearing a golden robe. As soon as the giant toad appeared, an aura that was second only to a great saint of the demon race immediately covered the entire area like a hurricane. The grasshopper demon spirits that were chasing after the toad army either trembled all over or fled frantically in fright. Not a single one of them dared to chase after the toad army. Is this Demon King Masa? Xiaohua looked at the giant toad and asked in a low voice. This. Little White Dragon looked at Shuiyu, and Shuiyu also looked at Little White Dragon. Both of them shook their heads and said, "We don't know. After all, it's Demon King Masa of the Tsangyuan territory. We've never seen him before." "I'm afraid so," Huang Tong said in her heart. "Don't forget, that little girl named Dai from beginning to end, never mentioned Demon King Masa's appearance. It should be because she disdained or didn't dare to mention it. Afraid of losing Xianwan's face." Sweat. Xiaohua suddenly thought again. Since Xianwan married a toad, then does she think everyone is handsome? Since Minghua doesn't dare to show his true body in the demon realm, then he. Thinking, Xiaohua's gaze fell on the grasshoppers flying around. Little White Dragon. Xiaohua hurriedly asked. What kind of demon spirit is Minghua? Is it this kind of grasshopper with thin arms and legs and a big belly? How is that possible? Little White Dragon hurriedly replied. Great Sage Minghua. At this point, Little White Dragon was at a loss for words. Its pair of dragon eyes flashed with a golden light. After a moment of hesitation, it said, I remember that Great Sage Minghua seemed to be a demon spirit in the shape of a python. But when I think about it carefully, it's vague. I can't be sure. Yes. Xiaohua understood that Minghua must have used some kind of shell race ability to conceal his true body. Every demon spirit would see a different appearance, and this appearance would be similar to every demon spirit. Little White Dragon saw the Python clan, while Xianwan saw the Flying Feather clan, which looked like a swan. If that's the case, then Xianwan's attraction to dark mantra will naturally be far greater than this toad's. Just as Xiaohua was silently cursing, the giant toad kicked its legs and turned into a stream of light. It instantly appeared in front of Xiaohua and the others. The toad's flashing gold eyes looked at Xiaohua and then at Huang Tong. Its expression was uncertain. Seeing the toad hesitate, Xiaohua decided to speak first. This old man is Xiaohua. Are you Archfiend Masa of the Tsungyuan realm? Hearing Xiaohua's calm tone, the toad hurriedly bowed and said, Archfiend Masa greets the human race's great sage. I didn't know that a great sage had come. My words were a bit offensive. Please forgive me. Then, without waiting for Xiaohua to speak, Archfiend Masa bowed to Huang Tong and said, Greetings to the phoenix race's great sage. Archfiend Masa's body was enormous, and his front legs were short and thick. He didn't cup his fists like a human, but when he placed his front legs in front of his chest and lowered his fat head, he looked extremely awkward and comical. But in the face of this famous Archfiend, Little White Dragon and Little White Dragon didn't dare mock him. Archfiend Masa's attitude was respectful, so Xiaohua couldn't make things difficult for him. Xiaohua raised his hand and said, You're too polite. Huang Tong glanced coldly at Archfiend Masa, then raised her head and gazed off into the distance. Archfiend Masa didn't find Huang Tong's disdain strange. Rather, he was a bit uncomfortable with Xiaohua's politeness. He hurriedly asked respectfully, Might I ask, why have you two great sages come? But after saying this, Archfiend Masa seemed to think of something. He hurriedly added, But if you two great sages have been entrusted by the Swift Cherry Sage to mediate, then don't blame me for not giving the great sage face. Even if the great sage uses the spirit execution origin light, I. Archfiend Masa said a few times. Although he didn't say anything else, the decisiveness in his eyes didn't diminish in the slightest. It was as if even Xiaohua's spirit execution origin light couldn't extinguish the anger in his heart. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, Archfiend Masa, you think too much. The fight between you and Great Saint Ming Hua has nothing to do with me at all. I'm just here to ask Great Saint Ming Hua one thing. If you hadn't set up a restriction in the void, I definitely wouldn't have let you know my whereabouts. That's good. Archfiend Masa nodded and said, As long as the Great Sage doesn't interfere with the grievances between me and Ming Hua, the Great Sage can go and see Ming Hua. However, Great Sage, my Tsungyuan realm's army has already besieged the Huatian realm for several years, but I've never seen Ming Hua. I don't know if the Great Sage will show himself when you come. Huang Tong sneered. Can you stop us wherever we want to go? You're just a archfiend, not even a great sage of the fiend race. You're actually so daring to lead an army to besiege the territory of a great sage of the spirit realm. Don't you want to live anymore? Even if I don't want to live anymore, I want Ming Hua to come out and give me an explanation. Archfiend Masa's neck stiffened, and he shouted with a somewhat red face. Xiaohua was originally in a hurry to go to the Dawn Rain continent, so he didn't think about why Archfiend Masa had besieged the Huatian realm. But now that he saw Archfiend Masa's embarrassment, his heart unconsciously moved as if he had a premonition. He looked at Huang Tong, and seemed to understand the meaning of his words. He smiled and said, Great Sage Huang Tong's words are also the doubts in my heart. When I heard that you led an army to attack Ming Hua, I also didn't understand. You actually dared to challenge a great sage of the spirit race without fear of death. There must be a reason behind it. This reason. Can you tell me? This. Archfiend Masa stuttered again, and a layer of red appeared on his face. At this time, Toad Battle Team had already scattered Grasshopper Battle Team. And behind them, like towering mountains and precipitous ridges, mountain spirits' footsteps shook the earth and welcomed them. Toad Battle Team began to organize their formation, preparing to attack. Damn it! Archfiend Masa roared and opened his mouth. Immediately, a fierce wind rose, and a voice resounded between heaven and earth. Ming Hua, come out if you have the guts. Explain things clearly. Are you still a great sage of the fiend race if you're so cowardly? Are you worthy of being the master of the Huatian realm? Unfortunately, there was no response from the place where the voice passed, only the wind whistling between the mountains mercilessly mocking. Did you see that? Archfiend Masa's tone was rather helpless, and he said dejectedly, Ming Hua won't show himself no matter what. I can't do anything to him. Looks like, if that matter wasn't true, he wouldn't dare to come out and confront me. Then it should be like what the Fast Cherry Sage said, Ming Hua disdains to confront me. If you have the guts, Why don't you just kill your way to the Foundation Hall? Little White Dragon asked curiously. If you go to the Foundation Hall, are you afraid Minghua won't come out to see you? Do you dare to go to my Masa Palace? Archfiend Masa didn't directly answer Little White Dragon, and instead asked a question of his own. How would I dare to go? Little White Dragon stuck out his tongue, understanding Archfiend Masa's meaning. As expected, Archfiend Masa said coldly, even you don't dare to go to my Masa Palace. How would I dare to use my Archfiend power to force a great sage of the Huatian realm? Damn it, what's going on? Say it. Little White Dragon was a little flustered and exasperated. You've already led troops to attack the Huatian realm. Are you still afraid that others won't know? This. Archfiend Masa hesitated for a moment, and finally spoke, briefly explaining the cause of the matter. Although Archfiend Masa didn't want Xiaohua to know the details, when he heard the words Queen of the Qin School Palace, Xiaohua was already enlightened. The unclear ambiguity between Xianwan and Minghua had already been exposed to the world. Archfiend Masa couldn't hold back the anger in his heart, and led troops to the Huatian realm to demand an explanation from Minghua. However, when Archfiend Masa finished speaking, Xiaohua frowned again, because what Archfiend Masa said was still different from what Xiaohua knew. According to Archfiend Masa, Queen of the Qin School Palace, Xianwan was hiding in the Huatian realm, flying together with Minghua. Since Xiaohua was the one in the 10,000 demon realm, who knew the whereabouts of Xianwan and Minghua the best, of course the ins and outs of this matter were as clear as fire. He smiled and asked, since she's your beloved concubine, why isn't she in the Qin School Palace? Even if she's not in the Qin School Palace, where did she go? How could you not know? Moreover, don't forget, since she's already your concubine, why would she blatantly look for other demons? Although this Minghua is also a great sage, he's not the only great sage in the 10,000 demon realm, right? The Origin Clan's Profound Grand Sage and Swift Cherry Grand Sage are also great sages who are not inferior to Minghua. Do you think your concubine is so brainless? You still say that it wasn't the Swift Cherry Grand Sage who invited her. Archfiend Masa's face turned red, and he anxiously said, you're saying the same thing as the Swift Cherry Grand Sage. Xiaohua laughed. This old man came from outside the realm, and I'm not related to your Swift Cherry Grand Sage. What qualifications does she have to invite this old man to be her lobbyist? This old man is just like the Swift Cherry Grand Sage, an outsider who can see clearly at a glance. Moreover, presumably the other great sages also know. But they don't want to say it. They just want to see you make a fool of yourself. Chapter 48-24. How is that possible? Demon King Mosa was a bit angry. All right, let's put it this way. Xiaohua saw that this was Xianwan's matter, so he couldn't just leave it alone. Thus he smiled and said, who told you that your empress is in the Huatian realm? Call him over. This old man just happens to be going to the Foundation Hall, so I might as well bring you along. Demon King Mosa hesitated and couldn't speak for a long time. Xiaohua understood even more and raised his hand. That is to say, the information you received was not personally told to you by other demons. It was just hearsay. But since she is not in Huatian realm, not in Foundation Hall, why doesn't Heavenly King Hua dare to come out and say a word? Demon King Mosa argued. Xiaohua smiled. This old man doesn't know if he will come out or not. But let me ask you again. Why is your empress not in Songyuan realm? She felt that Qin School Palace was a bit boring and wanted to go out and travel. Demon King Mosa whispered. I know she is used to living in Sky Dome Upper Realm, and is not used to Qin School Palace, so I agreed. I wanted to accompany her, but she didn't agree, so I could only let her go. I think. In 10,000 Demon Realm, who doesn't know my name, who doesn't know who she is? As long as she doesn't go to Jade Azure Sea or the Three Wastelands, nothing will happen. But your empress just had to go missing? Xiaohua asked knowingly. Yes. Demon King Mosa said dejectedly. At first there was some news, but a few hundred years ago, there was suddenly no news. I searched for a long time but couldn't find her. That blessing palace. I thought I did something and almost interrogated me. There hasn't been any news for hundreds of years. Suddenly, an inexplicable message tells you that your empress is in the Hua Tian realm, with Heavenly King Hua. You didn't think much about it at all, did you? Xiao Hua asked. You immediately led your troops here? That's not it. Demon King Mosa argued. Heavenly King Hua is after all a great saint of the spirit race. No matter how bold I am, I wouldn't dare to rashly lead an expedition. I first sent an envoy to invite Heavenly King Hua to the Mosa Palace for a banquet. I wanted to ask him about this matter in private, but he didn't show up. As for this matter, I can't say it out loud. I can only look for an opportunity to inquire. But at this time her matter in the Hua Tian realm suddenly spread, and many great sages knew about it. Seeing this, I also had doubts in my heart. Thus, I once again invited Heavenly King Hua to my Mosa Palace, hoping that he could clarify the matter. However, he still didn't show up. In the end, I had no choice but to personally go to Foundation Hall. You actually went to Foundation Hall? Little White Dragon found it strange. That's right, but Heavenly King Hua still refuses to see him. Demon Monarch Masa nodded. He only told the other demon spirits to send a message saying that everything was just a rumor. He told me not to believe it. That's right. It's just a rumor. You shouldn't have believed it. Yu chimed in. But Monster King Masa ground his teeth. Although I'm not a great sage, I'm still Monster King Masa. He actually refused to see me? Did he just send me away with that one sentence? At the time, I had no choice but to leave the Hua Tian realm. However, right at the border of the Hua Tian realm, I was so angry that I had the demon spirit who gave me send a message to Heavenly King Hua. I asked him to come to my Mosa Palace in a month's time, and explain the reason to the other demon spirits. Otherwise, I'll lead an army to attack the Hua Tian realm. You're quite bold. Little White Dragon didn't know if he was mocking or praising him. Monster King Masa glanced at Little White Dragon. I only wanted to force Heavenly King Hua. This matter seemed simple to him, but to me it was extremely important. I couldn't not ask him to take it seriously. Who knew that Heavenly King Hua still wouldn't show up? Xiao Hua smiled. And you? Since you've already said so, you can only send troops to the Hua Tian realm. That's right. Monster King Masa nodded. Even if my Tsang Yuan realm's army forced him here, Heavenly King Hua still wouldn't dare show himself. Human great sage, if he didn't have any ulterior motives, why wouldn't he dare show himself? Hearing this, Xiao Hua understood many things. Needless to say, there might be a mastermind behind this matter. Regardless of whether or not this mastermind really knew about the ambiguous relationship between Xian Wan and Ming Hua, one thing was certain. This mastermind had already seen through the flaw in Ming Hua's doppelganger. However, this mastermind might not have been able to confirm this flaw. That's why they connected the long-missing Xian Wan with Ming Hua, and sent Monster King Masa to investigate. Ming Hua was naturally a doppelganger. His strength wasn't at the great sage level. Even from Monster King Masa's words, his strength wasn't as strong as Monster King Masa's. Therefore, he didn't dare to show himself. This made the originally skeptical Monster King Masa even more convinced. However, what was originally a rumor was originally true. Of course, it couldn't be ruled out that this mastermind really did know about the ambiguous relationship between Xian Wan and Ming Hua. Thinking of this, Xiao Hua smiled and said, How about this, Monster King Masa? This old man won't let you invite the demon spirit who told you. Come with this old man to Foundation Hall. This old man was just about to go find Heavenly King Hua. Why don't I help you? Sure. Demon King Masa nodded. But last time, the Swift Cherry Grand Sage and the Flame Phoenix Empress went to the Foundational Palace. Heavenly King Hua didn't appear. The Swift Cherry Grand Sage and the Flame Phoenix Empress couldn't. Xiao Hua sneered and said, That's because the Swift Cherry Grand Sage was too soft-hearted. He couldn't bear to tear apart each other's faces. But this old man is different. This old man has an extremely important matter to discuss with Heavenly King Hua. Whether he meets or not, it's not up to him. All right. Monster King Masa hesitated, then looked at Huang Tong, who didn't even bother looking at him. He nodded and said, "Then I'll accompany the great sages to Foundation Hall. Withdraw your army." Xiaohua looked at the toad army that was already fighting with the mountain rock spirit and said, "If this continues, the casualties will be even greater." "Humph. Although I can't defeat Heavenly King Hua, my Tsongyuan field army is definitely stronger than Heavenly King Hua's," Monster King Masa said proudly. "Behind my personal army, there are also mountain rock spirits and origin spirits." Xiaohua couldn't be bothered to ask what origin spirits were. He raised his hand and said, "You lead the way." "Yes, great sage." Monster King Masa didn't say anything else. After giving the order to his army, he no longer cared about the situation on the ground. His body flashed with golden light, and he charged into the void. Damn, this toad is quite interesting. Watching Archfiend Monarch Masa flee into the void, Xiaohua fell into deep thought. He thought to himself, "It's not as Dyer said. The Heavenly Fortune Palace married Xianwan to him. Although in the eyes of the human race, it's definitely a marriage of lower status, and the two aren't a good match." But thinking about this toad's status as a monster king and his love for Xianwan, he wouldn't let Xianwan suffer in the Qin School Palace. The Heavenly Fortune Palace's eyes are unique. Thinking of this, Xiaohua couldn't help but laugh. The Heavenly Fortune Palace's thoughts were naturally different from Xianwan's. They each had their own reasons. What right did he have to judge? He only needed to see Minghua's clone, awaken Minghua's main body, ask about the spatial passage to the Dawn Rain continent, rescue Xianwan from the forbidden spell, and return the favor. As for what Xianwan would choose, that was Xianwan's business, and he had nothing to do with it. Monster King Masa had been to the Foundation Hall before, so he was naturally familiar with the place. Moreover, his void escape technique was no small matter. Before long, he flew out of the void with Xiaohua and Huang Tong. In front of them was a huge desert. Monster trees as large as cactuses were scattered all over the place. And in the middle of these monster trees, there was a huge sand dune on the ground. These sand dunes were grotesquely shaped and arranged in a strange manner. They were either arranged in a square on the ground, or in a six-sided pile in the air, or in an oval-shaped semicircle hidden in the void. These sand dunes didn't seem to have any doors, but there were many monsters near the sand dune. Some of these monsters were patrolling in the air, while others were shuttling between the sand dune, as if the sand dune was a palace. The desert was naturally windy. Sand and dust often filled the sky. However, in this barren desert, streams of rich power of the stars and the moon fell from the sky like a waterfall, pouring onto the sand dunes. The entire sand dunes were overflowing with brilliance, and then fell deep into the ground. Similarly, from the ground, there was also rich earth-type yuan qi of heaven and earth flowing upwards, forming a thin barrier at the edge of the wasteland. While protecting the entire wasteland, it also fell onto the sand dunes. Xiaohua flew out from the void. After scanning with his divine sense, he couldn't help but nod inwardly. Although he didn't understand what kind of demonic formation was set up in this desert, the demonic light on the ground flickered. With so many sand dunes' intricate arrangement, the entire desert was like a monster accumulating power. An indescribable power was being emitted from these sand dune formations. "This must be the Foundation Hall, right?" Xiaohua asked in a low voice. Now he could be considered experienced and knowledgeable. He knew that the so-called palaces of the monster race might not be the same as the palaces of the human race. The Foundation Hall of the Huatian realm was piled up by sand dune. In the eyes of the human race, it was like a sand toy. Even the Phoenix Palace of the colorful Phoenix King might be a chicken coop in the eyes of the human race. That's right. Little White Dragon looked at the Foundation Hall in his memory and felt a little emotional. He nodded and said, "This is the Foundation Hall. I remember coming here with Ming Hua." Oh. Demon King Masa was slightly taken aback. He glanced at Little White Dragon. He didn't know what this strange monster race had to do with Ming Hua. While everyone was talking, the sound of wind whistling suddenly rang out. Countless sand and stones rushed out from the ground and from the nearest sand dune. In a moment, a strange beast-like figure of 1,000 feet in size appeared in mid-air. Chapter 48-25. Looking at the beast that looked like a hexagon but was oval in the middle, with more than 10 tentacles extending from the four sides, Little White Dragon said in a low voice, "Big brother, this is a kind of demon from the Huatian realm, called Shahong." The Shahong spirit revealed himself and immediately said warily, "Demon King Mo Sa, what are you doing here? My great sage said he wouldn't see you. Please return." Whoosh. Monarch Masa didn't waste any time talking to the spirit. He stuck out his thick tongue, and the space within a few hundred meters around him was locked down. His tongue then pierced through the void and entered the gravel demon's body. Boom. With a huge sound, the 3,000-meter-long Shahong's body collapsed. Not only that, but even the tiny grains of sand turned to dust. Gua. Demon King Mo Sa roared. "Minghua, I've come to your foundation hall. Come out and see me." Demon King Mo Sa's roar attracted the attention of many demon soldiers. Woo. With a gust of wind, groups of strange demons flew out from the sand dunes and quickly formed a squad in front of Demon King Mo Sa. Swoosh. Several gray demonic lights flashed. A grasshopper demon clan with bronze-colored body. A Shahong demon clan with fist-sized gravel all over its body. A demon clan with a completely stone-like body. And a demon clan with short spikes all over its body flew out from the hill and landed in front of the battle team. The grasshopper demon said coldly, "Demon King Mo Sa, our two races are in the middle of a war. What are you doing here at my foundation hall? Don't think that just because my great sage tolerated you he was weak. Last time, when the Swift Cherry Great Sage came, my great sage made it clear that your thoughts were nothing more than delusions. Since you want to fight, then let's fight. But if you keep challenging my great sage's bottom line, then don't blame my great sage for being ruthless and not giving him any face." Ah! Demon King Mo Sa laughed loudly. "This great sage has nothing to do with me. Have your great sage come out. My Songyuan realm and the Huatian realm have been fighting for so many years, I'm tired of it. I just want to ask him one thing. You're just a demon king. What qualifications do you have to ask my great sage to come out?" The grasshopper demon replied indifferently, "If the great sage comes, then that's more like it." Gua. Demon King Mo Sa was enraged when he heard the grasshopper demon general mention the Nuaxian supreme sage. He shouted, "I will kill all of you first. Let's see if Minghua comes out or not." With that, Demon Monarch Masa's golden figure flickered and his thick claws slapped out. Several golden sword-like rays of light completely enveloped the demon ant general. The grasshopper fiend general hadn't expected fiend Monarch Masa to dare make a move in Foundation Palace. He was shocked. He wasn't as strong as Monarch Masa to begin with, so there was no way he could dodge. Just as the grasshopper fiend general was about to be smashed to death by fiend King Mo Sa, a finger suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Although the finger was pointing at the air, both fiend King Mo Sa and the grasshopper fiend general were imprisoned. The sword-like golden light was also annihilated. Xiaohua opened his mouth and said, "I am Xiaohua, the great sage of the human race. Go call your great sage Minghua over." Along with Xiaohua's voice, the grasshopper demon general's spatial imprisonment disappeared. Demon King Masa's eyes clearly showed a kind of surprise. He knew that Xiaohua's divine arts were powerful, but he didn't expect Xiaohua's divine arts to have reached such an unfathomable level. The great sage of the human race? The grasshopper demon general had clearly never heard of Xiaohua's name, and cried out in surprise. "Damn it!" Demon King Masa said coldly. "This is the human great sage who killed the great ape king and the rainbow lion king. Why don't you hurry up and call heavenly King Hua out? If the great sage of the human race is angered, he will still take heavenly King Hua's head." Ah! The grasshopper demon general turned pale with fright. Although he didn't know whether this news was true or false, he didn't think that Demon King Masa would use the lives of the great ape king and the rainbow lion king to joke with him. He hurriedly flew back and whispered a few words to the demon generals, then said in a panic, "Please wait a moment, great sage of the human race. This little one will call my great sage over." Facing a fiend who could kill two great sages, the grasshopper demon general didn't dare to be careless. He hurriedly brought the group of demon generals back to the dune-shaped Foundation Palace. Xiao Hua looked at the foundation palace that covered the entire desert and frowned slightly. Because there weren't any overly powerful auras in this desert, Ming Hua's doppelganger didn't seem to exist at all. Sure enough, after half a meal, the grasshopper demon general flew over alone with a sad face and begged, "Great sage, this little one isn't lying to you. Just now, my great sage was still in the foundation palace, but now, there's no trace of him." And Xiao Hua said amiably, "This has nothing to do with you. Heavenly King Hua might have misunderstood. This old man is an old acquaintance of his, and I'm not here to find trouble with him." As he spoke, Xiao Hua raised his voice and said, "Heavenly King Hua, I am Xiao Hua of the human race. I came here today because I have an extremely important matter to discuss with you. I know. You have some misgivings right now, and you're afraid that I will see through something. However, I came to see you precisely because I don't want this flaw of yours to be seen through by the other great sages. You must trust one, and don't let I use force. That way, it won't be fun." When Demon King Masa heard this, he was even more curious. Although he didn't understand what Xiao Hua was talking about, he already understood that Heavenly King Hua Ming Hua didn't want to see him because he had some other unspeakable troubles. And these unspeakable troubles were a taboo for Heavenly King Hua. He was afraid that he really had misunderstood Heavenly King Hua. After the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Ming Hua's figure didn't appear in the entire desert. This wasn't out of Xiao Hua's expectations. He smiled and said, "All right, since that's the case, don't blame this old man for not showing mercy. Heavenly King Hua, you aren't the real Ming Hua right now. You're just a clone of Heavenly King Hua. This old man came here today to tell you where Ming Hua's main body is. If you know what's good for you, come out now. This old man will tell you the truth." "What?" Demon King Masa was stunned. He said in shock, "Human race great sage, you're saying the current Heavenly King Hua is his clone? No wonder he didn't dare to see me. However then where did his main body go?" "Hee, naturally he's with your empress." Huang Tong sneered from the side. "Damn it." Demon Monarch Masa let out a furious roar, and immediately came to his senses. The possibility of this happening was simply too great. "Damn it, this old man lied to you." Huang Tong scolded him. "This old man doesn't even know who Ming Hua is, and I don't know who your empress is. You believe everything I say." "Yes." Demon King Masa was quite tactful in front of the great sage of the Phoenix race. He didn't dare to say anything. This time, it was out of Xiao Hua's expectations. After a full meal, no demons flew out. "Fellow Taoist Xiao." Huang Tong smiled. "Looks like this Heavenly King Hua still doesn't trust you enough. He doesn't want to see you. Right now, it's not a matter of whether he believes me or not. And it's not a matter of whether he wants to see me or not." Xiao Hua was a bit unhappy. After all, he had said everything he could say. He even used "I" to vaguely point out his relationship with Ming Hua's main body. But at this point, Ming Hua's clone still didn't come out to meet him. Xiao Hua couldn't possibly tell him everything, right? Since it was Ming Hua's clone and not Ming Hua's ancestor, there was no need to be especially polite. Xiao Hua said proudly, "Right now, it's a matter of me wanting to see him." While speaking, Xiao Hua looked up at the sky and said, "Fellow Taoists, can you come with me to see this Heavenly King Hua?" "Haha, of course." Before Xiao Hua's voice faded, Feng Wu and Reverend Yun flew down from the sky. The Great Sage of the Phoenix and Great Sage of the Dragon Clan released their auras without concealing anything. A pressure comparable to a storm rolled over. Not only the demons of the Huatian realm fell into the sand, but even Demon King Masa's body shrank rapidly under the pressure. He didn't dare to resist at all. "Oh my." Demon King Masa stuck out his tongue. He looked at Reverend Yun's dragon body, and then at the little white dragon's body. He thought to himself, so this unknown demon is from the Dragon Clan. Looks like the Dragon Clan and this great sage of the Dragon Clan have some relationship. Fortunately, I didn't offend him just now. Demon King Masa quickly stabilized his body and wanted to go forward to greet him. However, Feng Wu and Reverend Yun rolled up their bodies and flew tens of thousands of miles away in an instant. Xiao Hua looked at Huang Tong, and also flew tens of thousands of miles away in another direction. After that, the four of them stood still and released their consciousness at the same time. Like the great array of the 9 provinces, they covered the surrounding space. After a while, Xiao Hua smiled and said loudly, "Heavenly King Hua, at this time, you still don't want to come out and meet me?" Roar! Reverend Yun let out a dragon roar, and spat out a dragon breath that reached tens of thousands of feet high in the air. At the space where the dragon breath was, a series of cracks appeared like glass. When the dragon breath rushed into these cracks, a green light ball flew out from the space crack. This green light ball landed in the air and immediately turned into an extremely beautiful human woman. Xiao Hua sucked in a breath of cold air. His eyes flashed with puzzlement. He quickly asked in his mind, "Phoenix Sage, what did Minghua look like?" It's similar to what you think. In my eyes, this Minghua is a graceful phoenix, much more luxurious than the colorful Phoenix King. Feng Wu answered. However, just as Feng Wu's voice fell, the light ball flashed with 9 colors again. Light and shadow flashed, and the beautiful woman in Xiao Hua's eyes turned into a handsome man again. Xiao Hua sneered. His body swayed, but he didn't go near Minghua's clone. Instead, he landed beside the little white dragon and asked, "Little White, is this Minghua?" You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.